Broadcast is live.
There we are.
Here we go, part 4.
Is anybody there?
We'll give them a minute, as we always do. But anyone who's tuning in, hi guys.
Yeah, say hello in the comments if you are joining.
Cheers, Friday night.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
Not that I'm not.
I've just got a notification that this has started.
What?
I said I just got a notification that this had started.
Yeah, I've had that as well. Yeah.
Is there anyone there, Andy?
We've got our first contestant today.
Peter.
Good evening, Peter. Hello,
Evening,
children.
Evening.
Yeah,
I was talking to Peter about I showed that DAM album in my last video, and Peter's got a great collection. He pulled out Human Wreckage and Inside Out on original cassettes.
Nice.
There can't be many of those going around the world, can there?
How you doing, Darcy?
Hey, Darcy.
Evening, Darcy. Hope
So
you're doing well, mate.
I can see we've got a few lurkers in, so if you want to say hello.
James.
Have you noticed the CD?
Well, I can't see it. What's that? Is that the
Jamesy boy.
I've been spinning Metal Church the Dark that I got off Darcy.
Great album.
yeah, Jay?
Evening, Jay.
I just grabbed that on vinyl in the last couple of days.
All right. I'm still on the lookout for the 90s Metal Church with, I don't want that other singer, but Hanging in the Balance and Human Condition I'm after, but they're horrible prices.
They are.
You know what? People just tuning in now are going to wonder how the fuck we got to M so quickly.
How many's in, Andy?
Right, we're up to 13, so I think we can probably get going. Let's just go through a few of these hellos.
My missus is watching. I just seen her pop up there.
She never says hello.
I know. Yeah.
Hello, Mrs. G with a
Mrs.
C.
G with a C.
You know, after last time we did this, and Mike had a creator T-shirt on. Oh, there's Liam. Evening, Liam. Mike had a creator T-shirt on. I said, "Oh, I like that." So Father's Day coming up. I don't know if you can see it there, but my missus bought me one.
Super.
All the way from our Bulgarian friend.
Oh,
yes. Hey, you can't go past them.
No.
Right,
David F. Hello, everybody.
Chris, Gareth, you all guys popped in.
I've even had a little personal message from a lad of work with there, Mike, saying he's watching. Hiya, Mike. All right, dude.
There we go. Some Christian Shields there. There's a on this channel, I can tell you. Right. So this is we're up to 15, so we're going to get going. This is what should we call this? The series finale, series 1 finale, because we can always come back. Never say never.
It is only the final part of this A to Z, though. It's not the final part of our collaboration. I hope, boys. You're not.
We'll see how this works out, Mark. See if we still get on at the end of it, and then we'll go from there. All right, who's got A? I assume Mike, is it?
I've got A. Yeah.
Right.
Right. So for this one, I've gone for Avenged Sevenfold. Hail to the King. Now, like probably lots of people my age, when they heard the name Avenged Sevenfold, I thought modern stuff, screamcore or new metal or whatever. All I just thought was, I don't like the name. I'm not keen on it at all. I've heard it knocking around for quite a while. I'm not remotely interested in that band. And I was watching Holspar Metal, Rene from Spain, and he was talking about different albums, and he mentioned this, and he says, there is no modern influences in this album at all. It's just a good combination of Metallica's Black Album and Appetite for Destruction. Well, my ears pricked up at that, and I give it a whirl, and it was absolutely spot on. And he's right. There's no modern influences here. It's just classic hard rock that sounds like a great mix of those two albums, the Black Album and Appetite for Destruction. I mean, scarily close to both albums combined. And I urge everybody to check out this album, even if you don't check out the rest of the band's discography. I've got 3 albums or something, but this is the best one for me. And I think you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised if you like both of those albums. But I understand people running in the opposite direction because of the name, you know. Over to you, peeps.
I'm quite shocked you showed that, actually. That's a bit of a... I kind of always thought Avenged Sevenfold was a kind of like emo 13-year-old girl's favourite band kind of thing, eh? But it's funny you mentioned that, because the song Hail to the King is probably the song that I know best from Avenged Sevenfold. And has it not got like an intro that's like really like Metallica? It's like the wee kind of like fiddly kind of guitar intro. And that's what kind of got me. But I've never heard, I'm going to be honest, I've never heard a full album, but what I actually have heard from them is pretty good. But I do kind of lump them in with that kind of emo, early 2000s kind of...
I know. And you would be very wrong to do so.
Well, you?
Yeah, I was exactly the same. The name of the band, you know, I lumped them straight in with the likes of Good Charlotte and Sum 41, or I can't even remember what these bands, Blink 182, all them. Yeah. I had no interest at all, if I'm honest. And then I did read a review, and it talked about that album. What's it called? Hail to the King. Yeah, it said it was that band's Black Album, which I thought, you know, I'll have to have a listen to it. I never bothered, and Jim Davis actually sent me that in one of his VCLTs. So I do own the album. I have only listened to it ever once, and it's not really my thing, but it's better than I thought it was going to be. I was more impressed than I thought. I thought, actually, you know, there's some quite nice little riffs in there, and it's got something quite interesting going on. But it's even after hearing it, it still just rings of screamo, metalcore. Sometimes it's hard to get past that, isn't it? You know, once you've kind of made especially my age, once you've made your mind up.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, same as Scott. I'm surprised to see you show that one. Bear in mind how difficult you sometimes talk about getting into more of the modern bands, but you have piqued my interest by the comparison that you've mentioned there between sort of Metallica and Guns N' Roses. So I'm gonna check it out just to see how that sounds, because I can't quite imagine sort of Guns N' Roses and was it the Black Album you said?
Yeah, Appetite for Destruction and the Black Album.
Yeah, I can't imagine those two getting mingled together, but that's what this is all about. I'm gonna go and check that one out.
Oh well, you'll pick that up for about £2 at the most.
I'll give it a go on YouTube first.
You don't want,
it's not worth the
£2 yet.
All right.
Right. Mark G with a B. Okay, another modern band for you. This is a band that instantly the name of the band will just put a million people off, and it's not a great name for a band, but it kind of piqued my interest as soon as I saw it. And it is a band from California called Bonded by Blood. This is their second album. They're a modern thrash band. The singer, I think he only was on the first and the second album. This is the second one. He is very much vocally sounds like a mix between Paul Baloff and Zoetrope from Exodus, and a bit of Sean Killian from Violence in there. Quite kind of spits his vocals out, But if you like modern thrash and you're into bands like Havoc, Warbringer, Fueled by Fire, those kind of bands, it's really well played modern thrash. There's some good riffs in there. It's not got the memorable riffs like old school thrash has. It's on Earache Records, 2010 release. I'll show you the back. And it's a concept album, this. It's set 600 years in the future, and the Earth is run by an alien race. I think they're called the Krongs or something like that. And the album's based on the humans fighting back and trying to take re-control of Earth. But it's good. I like it. I'm a fan. I've said before, I don't always need a band to be doing anything particularly original. If they're playing it well and it grabs me interest, it does. But yeah, not a good name for a band. I mean, that's a proper. It's all right naming your band name after songs by bands, but by probably one of the most iconic thrash albums of all time, you're always going to get people dissing you for that, aren't you? So yeah, Bonded by Blood, Exiled to Earth, modern thrash metal.
I can tell by the that I don't think any of us have heard them. Now, I've heard of the name, but I haven't heard of them, and I wouldn't necessarily say the name has put me off, but it is kind of, you think it's just going to be an Exodus clone, and especially as you said that he's managed to make the vocals sound like a couple of the singers. So
is that a bad thing though?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I listen to a lot of sort of modern, more traditional metal that sounds, you can tell where they've got the influences from, but none of them kind of come out and necessarily name themselves after an iconic album. It does kind of pigeonhole them a bit to me, but I don't know. Again, I would give them a go. I find a lot of modern thrash with modern production a bit samey. I mean, Havoc, I've got Conformicide, but I've never been that bothered to go out and find more Havoc because I kind of feel I know what they sound like, and I don't know. And I know lots of people love that band, so there's a few modern thrash bands like that I like, but they don't have me rushing out to get more. It's almost like I've sampled them and that'll do.
Yeah, when it comes to the name, I think they've tried to do one thing and then done another. Like, they've obviously tried to name their band after Exodus to maybe gain some, gain some traction or something like that in their career. But it's obviously kind of done the opposite, and people have kind of pushed them to the side because they've kind of been a bit too obvious.
Spot on. I think you're spot on there. Yeah.
I've never heard it. I've never heard of them, but that's what it sounds like anyway when it comes to the name.
Yeah, I've not heard of them, but to me, it would definitely put me off the name, because all I'd be thinking, and all I did think when I seen it was, if you can't even think of an original name for your band, then how much have you got behind that? Do you know what I mean? And I just, you lot know me. I hate modern thrash, modern Iron Maiden versions and things like that. I just don't do the whole new wave of insert fucking genre here. I just can't do it. I just feel like all those styles have all had the day, and unless they're mixing some styles up to create a third one, that's the only time I would really, I can't. I'll give it a go just to see if I'm wrong, but But I know you go in for all you three kind of go in for the new wave of whatever it is, and I just can't do it.
No, well, I mean, I don't think I would I wouldn't really jump into new wave. I mean, we had this. I remember we talked about this the last live stream. I really struggle with new wave of traditional heavy metal, like the new wave of hair metal, because it's just not done the same. And it's like one band's come out and done something with it, and it's not been right, but then every other band's followed on. It's like the blind leading the blind almost.
Yeah.
Because one person comes out and calls it something, and then somebody goes, right, okay, we'll do the same thing, but it's just not quite what it was. They've just kind of gone off on a tangent.
See, to me, it's like it kind of, there's something not in it. I can listen to one of these new albums, new thrash album, and it'll never take. And then I can listen to an old album that I've just never ever heard in the past, and it's already got that magic, and it only takes one listen, and I'm sold on it. You know, so there's a component missing from the new stuff. I don't know what it is yet.
The main thing that annoys me about the whole moniker of new wave of is that came about like in the early 2000s, new wave of traditional heavy metal. It's been going longer than the new wave of British heavy metal was, and it's not new anymore. It's just heavy metal, just played in a slightly different style. The new wave of thrash metal has been around probably for longer than thrash actually had its heyday. So it's not new particularly anymore. It's just modern thrash. And I say
you're right there.
The production is very samey.
That's their second album that was released in 2010. You know, so there's a lot of these bands like Havoc now. So you know, the new wave, if you call it, has probably been around for like 12, 13 years. The original thrash theme was what, 86 to 93, something like that. Less than 10 years, wasn't it? And I think sometimes as well, they're always modern sort of thrash bands or modern metal bands. There's almost like an element of them trying to be technically really proficient all of the time, and growing up as a musician myself, I was always sort of taught less is more. And I don't think some of these modern bands do that necessarily. It's like it's all in there. It's like, and they're all very technically brilliant. But sometimes you've got to let the music breathe. And I think old school music does have that difference. And
I think they're also too well produced. They haven't got that rawness, that almost amateurishness that some of the early 80s stuff had. That it's not perfect, but it kind of captured the moment. And also, Bonded by Blood sounds like they are an excellent tribute band that should be kind of doing the club tours that you get around with, any band that's, tribute bands are normally named after a song or an album or a play on words. And there we go. I think we spent long enough on this one.
Yeah.
I think we've destroyed modern thrash. Let's see what else we can do. Right, so I'm up on a C. Now this one is a few things that might surprise you in this one. First off, it's a CD I'm showing, and second off, it is it's kind of a little bit death metal-y. Oh, Mark, your eyebrow went quite high there. That's but it's not death metal. This is what they call, is it melodic death metal?
Yes.
So Children of Bodom, and this is Follow the Reaper, which I think is was it third or fourth album. And I kind of got into these by accident, really. So there was going to be a one-day festival up in Edinburgh called Heavy Scotland, which I bought tickets for, and the headline acts, Children of Bodom was one of them, and Krokus was the other one. So I bought a couple of Children of Bodom CDs because you get them really cheap, and a Krokus best of. Kind of like them, and then the event got canned, so I didn't get to see them after. But I've bought a few more Children of Bodom. So this, I don't think this is death metal at all. It's certainly not what I would class as death metal by any means. But the other thing that's surprising, it's really, really heavily keyboardy, and that's something I don't like, but I really like it on here. I mean, songs like Follow the Reaper, Hate Me, classic. I'm trying to remember some of these now from the names of the songs, and don't necessarily know them from the names of the songs. The only really poor thing on here, so this is a special edition. Bizarrely, it's one of these super jewel cases, and it looks like it should have 2 CDs in there, but there's only one in there. Is it has a cover of Hellion by Wasp, and that is pretty shocking, to be honest with you. But I've now got about 5 Children of Bodom albums, and it's just something a little bit different from the normal stuff I would listen to. And so there, that's my C.
Well, I can jump in quick on this. I've never heard them. I've heard of them, but I've never heard them, and I don't know why. And I've never even heard what they might be like either. So I'll give them a listen. I'm not averse to some keyboards thrown in there, so I'll give them a go. But are they from Finland or somewhere? Is Bodom a place where?
Lake Bodom. It's been like murder. Like there was murders.
I have no idea where they're from.
There was like wee kids that were murdered. Like they were camping at Lake Bodom, and I think that's why it's called Children of Bodom.
Right. I like that name. I'm quite drawn to that name.
I wasn't laughing at the fact that there's children murdered. I was just laughing at the way you say murder. It's just, I just think of Taggart.
There's been a murder.
There's been a murder.
There's been a murder.
I knew
There's been a murder in Finland.
Actually, from that description below, symphonic is probably the word I should have chosen. That's something I normally hate when it comes to metal music. I don't like symphonic power metal, any of that stuff. But that works for me. I don't know if I would explore the genre any deeper, to be honest with you. But there we go.
Yeah, considering it's that's on like the heavy side for you, I've always avoided them like the plague. I'll be honest with you, and I think it is because I'm not averse, like Mike says, to having keyboards in music, but I've never really been a fan of keyboards in death metal music. I like Nocturnus. There's something about them, but they were never going to be my favourite band. Nocturnus are a Floridian death metal band that have got loads of keyboards, pretty much washing over all of the music, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't mind the odd little bit in there, but yeah, I've never thought of Children of Bodom as a death metal band. I know they're heavy, but it's that, yeah. The minute I see symphonic written down, there's something about it. Just kind of, I think, oh, I'm not sure about that. But I do see them mentioned a little bit in the VC, so I should really give them a little whirl. So I will. I'm going to give them a little listen and see what's going on there.
Yeah, listen to that song. Hate Me. Oh, that's great. Let's say it's really, really the fact that it's classed any kind of sort of death metal on the BMR. I don't necessarily avoid it like the plague, and some of the doomier death stuff I don't mind at all, because of my, I do like a bit of doom metal, but
yeah, well, Follow the Reaper was the first album from Children of Bodom I ever bought, and it was a few years ago now, but the first song I heard was on that, and it's Every Time I Die, and I've mentioned that song a few times in some of my videos. It's an absolutely tremendous song. I think it's by far their best, and that's what kind of got me into Children of Bodom. I think they're kind of classed as, I don't know if they're like melodic death or extreme metal. Extreme metal might be a bit kind of vague, but it's really, really good stuff. I'd say I kind of lost touch with them after their first maybe 4 albums, but their first 4 are really good. The other one is, I think it's Hatebreeder. It's kind of like, it's almost the same cover, but it's green. That's a really good album as well. But like you say, it's heavy. It's a lot of keyboards, but I mean, amazing riffs in it. And the singer is also amazing as well. So I'm a big fan of Children of Bodom, actually. I should really give them more of a chance. Like, they're more their newer albums actually.
Okay.
So that was a
Cool.
good choice. Down to me then.
Yep.
Yay!
I mean, we had to include Death Angel. We've had Testament, Exodus, Overkill. We had to have a bit of Death Angel. So Act 3, 1990. I don't know why I picked Act 3. I was actually going to go for a more modern album. I almost picked Evil Divide, but I thought I'd go back to Act 3 because I think with Act 3, it's actually a really good album for somebody who's maybe not sure about thrash. It's I would say it's a really good album to go into because it's really diverse. So I mean, it's obviously got a lot of thrash moments, but it's got those progressive moments as well. The tempo speeds up, slows down. There's a couple of slower tracks in there as well. And I just really like those kind of like progressive elements. I think it's actually a shame that they kind of had to go a full decade after that album without recording anything. But I mean, it's one of those albums that has kind of those peaks and valleys, and that's kind of a good thing. It kind of keeps you interested in the album all the way through. And I think if somebody was trying to get into thrash, that's a really easy album to digest. I know it's not really aggressive. It's not frantic all the way through. It has got those kind of wee interesting moments in it. So, yeah, that's why I picked Death Angel. I think it's compared to their newer stuff. It's obviously, I mean, it's 30 years on. It's obviously going to be different, but this is just like a really easy thrash album to listen to. So, you're not at any point thinking, this is getting a bit too much, or it's a bit like it doesn't go like 5 songs in a row and it's just the same speed all the way through, just that frantic. It's just quite a diverse album. So, Death Angel, Act 3.
One of the best albums of all time for me. 10 out of 10. I've always loved it. And you're right, it is an easy one, and it's not relentless like Flotsam and Jetsam or something like that, where it's just the same thing all the time. And they crashed a bus. They had a bus crashed, didn't they? And they were like,
yeah.
That's what put them out of action and that. But they did record some albums after that, but it just wasn't with Mark or Sequeda. Rob Cavastani sings on the organisation stuff. You should try that, Scott. But 10 out of 10. I love it. Easily my favourite Death Angel album by a mile.
I love it too. I always feel that Andrew Gallion, the drummer, he was only a kid. Even on that album, I think he was probably only about 20, 21 years old, and he was badly hurt in that bus crash, as Mike says. I honestly think if they would have carried on, they would have been massive. They were signed to Geffen Records. The Ultraviolence was their debut was a pure thrash monster. Frolic Through the Park came out, was so different. And then Act 3 was different to that as well. And they were just so progressive on all their albums, really. But the song A Room with a View, that has got to be one of the best metal ballads I think I've ever heard. I love that song. It's brilliant. But it's got everything. Yeah, it's got everything you want. And you nailed it there, Scott. If aliens landed on Earth and wanted to know what albums to listen to get into thrash metal, that is definitely a gateway one because it's got a bit of everything. It's got the thrash moments, but it's soft enough to break people in gently. But the Ultraviolence is my favourite Death Angel album. It always will be. But that is it's an absolute blinder.
So I'm that album has not clicked with me yet because I actually haven't had it that long. I got sent it VCLT, a guy called John's record rack, and from hearing, especially through you, Mike, about how fantastic their album was. Maybe I went in with the wrong expectations on what I thought fantastic would be for a thrash album. So I'm absolutely not saying it's a bad album. I just really need to give it more attention. I mean, Ultraviolence, I love. It's not even that I don't like Death Angel. Frolic in the Park, I think it's great as well. And then I love some of the modern stuff. The Evil Divide is kind of one of my favorite Death Angel albums, to be honest with you. And I know that a lot better than than Act 3. There was just something about it. Is there certain, like, trying to remember now, is there certain like sort of funk elements in there as well? Is there a bit of that kind of funk?
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting to hear that by Death Angel at that stage, although I think there's probably a tiny bit of that in Frolic in the Park as well. But yeah, so it's one I really need to revisit and get a lot better acquainted with. But certainly not a bad album by any means. I just didn't get out of it what I was expecting to when I first heard it. So definitely want to revisit.
Yeah, it's that kind of album that obviously you hear Ultraviolence, and if you heard like the Evil Divide, and if you go back to Act 3, it's going to sound very different between those two albums. Because you have got those kind of slower moments, like say Room of Review is like acoustic, something you really wouldn't expect, like from a band called Death Angel, this thrash band called Death Angel from the Bay Area, to do this kind of wee acoustic, something you wouldn't expect. But I think that's the kind of thing in an album that keeps you gripped. I mean, if you had the same old all the way through, you just switch off.
Disturbing the Peace, that's got one of the best riffs of all time. It's just tremendous. Who's next?
Great album.
What are we on then, Mike? Are you
Me?
up to S yet?
It's me. I have gone for Exodus, Temple of the Damned. For like 30 years, Fabulous Disaster was my Exodus album. That was it for me. That was, I tried the other ones and I enjoy some of the other ones, but I always went to Fabulous Disaster. And then I don't know why, and I've seen this too as well, and I still thought, I thought they were quite poor, especially compared to Nuclear Assault. But then last year or something, I decided to buy this again. I can't remember why, but I just decided to buy it again, and it just absolutely blew me away, and it's now my favorite Exodus album. It's just every song is just awesome, but I mean, it starts off ludicrously strong with Scar Spangled Banner and War Is My Shepherd, Blacklist, Shroud of Urine, stuff like. I mean, and the vocals, Zetro's style, which is like not unlike Bon Scott and Brian Johnson combination sort of thing. He's a bit like that, isn't he? And so when you have a voice like that, it's easy to sing and get on my tits. But on this, he absolutely is on top form, and it just can't be beat. And I just can't recommend this enough. I would recommend this above every other Exodus album now.
Strong.
Yeah, that's Exodus's the first album with Zetro when he rejoined after Rob Dukes or Rob Duke. I was never a fan of him as a singer of Exodus at all. I don't know what it was about him, but wasn't a fan at all. And I bought that album off Amazon. I bought that one and The Art of Dying by Death Angel at the same time. I bought them both on the same day. And I suppose they're both sort of comeback albums, if you will. It's a cracking album. It's a real return to form. And for me, as much as Bonded by Blood by Exodus has got Paul Baloff, I know, but Exodus is Zoetrope for me. If he's not singing, it doesn't sound like proper Exodus. That's, my introduction, the same as you, Mike. Fabulous Disaster was it, but that's a great album. Gary Holt certainly knows how to write a riff. He knows his way around that guitar. There's no doubt about it. And it's a fairly modern sounding thrash album compared to the other ones, because of who they are and Gary Holt's playing and Zetro. It feels like an Exodus album, doesn't it? But yeah, it's a cracker, a real good return for them.
Well, okay. I've never heard it. I'm still kind of finding my feet with Exodus, to be honest. I reckon over maybe even the last year, I've been really getting into Exodus, but I've not kind of got to that stage where, like, I know all their albums or I've listened to all their albums. Actually, I've started at the beginning. I picked up Blood In, Blood Out. I don't know is that their newest one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked that one up. I've not showed that yet. It's still in my inbox. But it was really just after we saw them live. That's when it really clicked with me. I just thought, wow, they've kind of like really gone up in my estimation. I've listened to Bonded by Blood, Fabulous Disaster, Impact is Imminent. I'm just kind of like working my way through, but I've never heard that. So it's definitely, after your recommendation, worth checking out now. So
it's his best vocal performance. I think it's the vocals make it on that album. It's just easily his best performance.
He was well happy to be back in the band, wasn't he? And he tells, he's giving it the berries in that album. There's no doubt about it. He's full throttle.
Yeah.
So what year was that, Mike?
2004.
So I only know, probably a bit like Scott, I only know the first three albums in the 80s ones. That's all I really know from Exodus, which is surprising because I'm a massive Gary Holt fan, but that's probably come more in recent times. So I need to kind of go back and kind of rediscover them from a post-80s perspective. But the first three, great albums, love them all. I think I showed Bonded by Blood, the album, not the band, Mark, on when I did my so yeah, I love the band. I just, for some reason, I haven't explored them beyond 1989.
Do it, check it out.
Yeah.
There's no reason why I shouldn't. It's not one of those that I'm just kind of holding back on. I just haven't got around to it.
There's so much music to listen to out there, isn't there? You know what I mean? I suppose that's why these videos are quite interesting, because it's not only is the people who are watching it checking these bands out, but we are as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So we're going to go for F, and I'm going to keep it. It's very Bay Area orientated, this episode for sure. And I could not pick this band. I know a lot of you will have heard of them, but Forbidden. Now, I know a lot of people will say the best Forbidden album is Twisted Into Form. In my opinion, this is their best one. Forbidden from the Bay Area. Originally, they were called Forbidden Evil. And Rob Flynn, who went on to be in Violence and Machine Head, he was an original member, but he left this band and went off to do Violence. This is an 88 release. And in my opinion, it is one of the most underrated thrash albums ever. This guy here, I'm all back to front. This guy here is a very young Paul Bostoff on drums, who went on to play in Testament for a little while, and then on his Slayer jaunt. Russ Anderson, the vocalist, one of the greatest thrash vocalists for me. I'm at a bit of a loss as to why they weren't any bigger, why they weren't, they were around at the time. They were originally called Forbidden Evil, the same as Testament were originally called The Legacy, and it was around the same time. So I'm not quite sure really why some bands seem to miss the boat, whether it's management or record companies, because the material is strong. The guitar playing. This album is just full of superb riffs. It's got the soaring choruses. I was lucky enough to see these guys supporting Queensrÿche when they toured this album, and the place we went to, there was probably about 40 people in there, and they put on a show. There was sweat flying around the venue. They were in the crowd. They were just real energetic, and I kind of fell in love with them from that moment. But yeah, if you've never heard Forbidden and you're a thrash metal fan, or you claim to be a thrash metal fan, this is a must. The second album, Twisted to Form, a new guitarist, Tim Calvert, on that. Very, very good guitarist. And it's more technical. It's probably a little bit more mature than this album, but this is just balls out a riff fest. Or as our friend Darcy would say, it's a thrash to piece. It really is. Just from front to back, soaring vocals, amazing riffs. Just if anyone says anything bad about it, I'm just going. All right, simple as that. That's how good this album is.
It's awesome. It's an awesome album. I do prefer Twisted into Form, but that's still a fantastic album. I think they fell behind a little bit because all them sort of second tier Bay Area thrash bands like Forbidden and Violence and maybe Heathen as well. They were all managed by this old woman, weren't they? And when Rob Flynn left,
was it Debbie Abono? Is that right?
Yeah, Debbie Abono. And when Rob Flynn left Forbidden to join Violence, there was quite a bit of a rivalry in that, and Debbie Abono was forced to pick a side, and she picked Violence, I think, and just Forbidden were just kind of left out in the wilderness, and you know they struggled out ever since. But I don't know why, because the music should have spoke for itself. The only thing I would think would maybe spoil it for some people. Back then, I used to think that Russ Anderson sounded like he was trying to sound like Rob Halford a bit, and I still liked it and all that, but that might have been enough to piss some people off, you know. Whereas Sean Killian just sounds like Sean Killian, and that's it. So maybe, but he's even more of an acquired taste than Russ Anderson. So I don't know. I think it was probably to do with the Debbie Bono link.
Yeah, never thought of that.
So I consider myself a thrash fan, but I don't actually own any Forbidden. Now it's high on the. Now I didn't say I hadn't heard it. I've played it through online and I absolutely love it. But being a bit anal when it comes to trying to get the 80s stuff on vinyl first, it's proving to be just a little bit hard to find an OG. So I'm gonna have to. The CDs aren't particularly cheap either. I mean, they're not the most expensive. I need to look in a little bit more, follow a few more auctions on eBay, but they definitely have to make their way into my collection. You can't just keep coming across them on YouTube and having a listen every now and again. It'd be nice to have it a little bit more on demand when I just want to stick an album on, but I'd love to get an original of those. They say really classic thrash metal, US thrash metal. Can't beat it.
Yeah, it's strange how a lot of these bands from the Bay Area they did really well for themselves, and they kind of got left behind. Because I mean, I only picked up Twisted into Form a couple of months ago, or maybe a month ago, but it's awesome. I'm more familiar with that than I am with Forbidden Evil. But yeah, I mean, these guys must feel pretty hard done by when they see who goes on and who doesn't. because there's probably worse bands that go on to do big things than, and they're kind of left sitting there going, well, why the fuck are we not there? Do you know what I mean? But it's good now that we're sitting here like 40 years on, 30 years on, talking about the albums, how good they are, but they must obviously still be thinking, well, it's all right for you to like the album, but we never went anywhere back in the 80s, 90s. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be definitely picking up Forbidden Evil at some point. But, yeah, I've listened to it probably once, maybe twice online, but I'd say Twisted Into Form is where I am with them. But yeah, it's pretty criminal when you hear some of the bands from back in the day, even these kind of rare gems that you hear, and you think to yourself, how were they not massive compared to this, or maybe even better or the same as other bands that are still going strong.
So why weren't they massive then, Mark? I noticed they were on that release that you showed was on Under One Flag. That's a UK label. Who were they on in the US? Do you know? I mean,
it was Combat in America, yeah, which was the same as Exodus,
which isn't a shabby label by any means, is it? So
no, not at all. No, I don't know. I mean, the original guitarist on here, Glenn Alvarez, I think he's called. He left and they got a second guitarist. I don't know whether lineup changes, an instant lineup change for the next album. I don't know if that kind of puts some people off. But I don't always know if there's an answer. I think sometimes if a band's just in almost the wrong place at the wrong time, when they're competing with so many other great bands, like Mike said, there was Testament, Metallica. The Bay Area was rife with just immense thrash metal. But this is immense thrash metal, so I've got no idea why. Like you say, maybe the management thing, maybe they just got, they're always second. Well, we'll put them on first, and they're playing at 4 o'clock when people are still coming into the venue, and I don't know what it is, but
yeah, I bet with some of these bands, it's like internal politics. I mean, it's all right to say that an album's really good and a great band, but if you've got internal politics there and somebody's pulling somebody's strings, and there's maybe like another backstory that you never hear.
Yeah,
it gets touched on that thrash or be thrash DVD that you give me, Mark. But yeah, I can't remember it that clear now, because that's, if anyone hasn't watched that, you need that video.
And maybe that point there, maybe they didn't tour enough. I suppose that is a big thing. A lot of bands, their apprenticeship, they have to slog it out, don't they, for years and years, gigging.
Yeah.
To get that fan base. Yeah, it's a very good point. That I never thought of that.
What's next?
Right, G. Now, go into this, Mike, with an open mind, because it's modern thrash. Okay. Good morning. So I have gone for. I mean, this band isn't new. This band has been around for 10 plus years, and they are from Northern Ireland.
Yes, I know whose means.
And I'm going with Gamma Bomb, and this is their album Untouchable Glory. Now, I think this to me. I mean, we're talking about modern thrash and the production and lots of sameness. I don't think these guys fit into that category. They're kind of really upbeat. They've also got that fun element, which I've talked on other videos about, never liking that fun element, but I do now. It's absolutely killer stuff. I mean, I say it is modern thrash metal, but it's upbeat. And if you want to sample the song "I Will Haunt You." That's something that, although it doesn't sound like an Anthrax ripoff, it's something that you can imagine Anthrax singing. It's fast, it's kind of aggressive, but it's just full on, and it's really fast and good thrash metal. And I love this release because it's very film oriented, obviously, and then each of the songs is represented by a movie poster. I mean, there's the fun element there. I mean, this song here, "Tuck Your T-Shirt In," but it's also, it's just I can't recommend these guys enough. Honestly, he's got a few more with the remaining 4 stories, and I would love to see these guys live. They were going to be playing at that Heavy Scotland I was talking about, which is one of the reasons why I bought my ticket before it got canned. But yeah, if you've not heard of Gamma Bomb, really good fun. I've also got Citizen Brain as well, which was, I think, their second album. But I'm winging that now. I can't quite remember. But if you've not heard of Gamma Bomb, check him out.
Does it sound like municipal waste a bit?
No, I don't. I'm not. I'm not that familiar with municipal waste, but the singer is in Bat, and he's really gruff. The singer isn't. It's not necessarily a traditional thrash metal style vocals, which I think is why I like it as well. And probably where the comparison a bit more comes with Anthrax, and that the guy can sing rather than it just be and I love the sort of the gruff or the rough and ready thrash metal vocals of the 80s. I mean, that was a particular style, and that's part of the thrash metal. But there are a few bands that have more of a singer in place and to carry the tune. So
yeah, I'll give them a go, but I haven't heard them. I don't think.
Yeah, that album was from 2015, and they've had I've not heard their more recent one, but I've got to get it. It's not forbidden by any stretch of the imagination. It's not that type of thrash, but it's also not it's not Havoc either. It kind of has its own style, I think.
It's more leaning towards crossover thrash. It isn't crossover thrash. It's got that sort of humorous element that like crossover thrash has. The likes that sort of Gangrene and DRI and bands like that.
Yeah.
It's had a humorous element. But I think the best way to describe them is when you hear the term speed metal and thrash metal, they are one of the quickest thrash bands. They're like a speed. They're the definition of speed metal. Every song's but it's the music breathes well, and because the singer's got like a clean voice. I mean, I think I've got 4 of their albums, and they're an earache band, or they were signed to earache for many years. But yeah, they're full on. They are really full on. They're like a runaway train. But great riffs, really great vocals. If you're a fan of Anthrax, I think you'd like them. If you're a fan of Municipal Waste, I think you'd like them. If you're a fan of DRI, they've got a bit of everything. But
so is that the album you would recommend? Is that the one to try out?
I would recommend that one. Yeah, I say Citizen Brain is also good, but I think a little bit harder to find these days.
Yeah, and I think the earlier albums, they were a bit younger, so they've kind of matured out a little bit now. So that album's probably a little bit more well arranged. They're just the Speed Demons. Really good, really good.
Yeah, it's kind of clean thrash, isn't it? It's not. I say that's what I think of before. It's clean thrash rather than the rough and ready. And I don't mean clean as in overproduced. Check it out.
Mm.
Yeah, I've never heard. I've heard of Gamma Bomb. I've heard of Gamma Ray. I've heard of Adam Bomb, but I've never heard Gamma Bomb. I've never heard them both together.
I bet you've heard of Bath Bombs as well, haven't you?
Oh, unless it gets to your nether regions, then you're right out the bath. Yeah, definitely worth a shout. Worth a go.
Yeah.
How we got to Bath Bombs, I do not know, but that's what this channel is about.
We're all friends, are you?
Random.
Yeah. You know how it goes. Okay. I'm going for HammerFall. Crimson Thunder from 2002. Now, HammerFall are a band that I really like, but definitely don't have enough of their material. This is actually the only album that I have of theirs on any format. And the reason I picked this one up first is it's probably the first power metal album that I ever heard. So it is your it's your Swedish power metal as you'd expect. The first song I heard, so maybe the first ever power metal song I heard, was track 2, Hearts on Fire. That was in my days before I really had a music collection, and I found the song Hearts on Fire on YouTube, and I was just like, this is amazing. And that's when I kind of started like handpicking certain songs out of their albums, so I didn't really know what songs went with what album. And then listened to this, and I was blown away. I mean, thinking that this was like the first power metal album I'd heard, I was just like, it just sounded massive. Everything just sounded fast, loud, huge. You know, that kind of like that epic power metal, and that kind of like the start of that kind of fantasy power metal as well. And I think they've got like 11 albums out, and I think that's why sometimes when I'm into bands that I've got a lot of albums, it's a lot to take in, and I find it hard to kind of like pull myself back because I kind of find that I want to pick up all their stuff, but if you pick up all their stuff at the same time, you can't really process the albums and what songs on which albums. So yeah, that's why I picked this. But cover of Angel of Mercy as well. I think that's from Chastain, or I think it's Chastain who did that. But yeah, HammerFall. They're also really known for doing doing covers as well. Like they've covered like Warlord and Stormwitch, and they did a cover of My Sharona. Pretty Maids, they've covered them as well. So they do, a lot of their albums have covers on them, but they actually do them really well. So yeah, HammerFall, Crimson Thunder.
I haven't heard them.
Go away.
I shy away from power metal because I feel like Halloween done it best in the 80s, and there's so much of it out there as well. There's thousands and thousands of power metal bands and albums and stuff, and I kind of made the decision years ago to just not get involved in any of it, to be honest. I just thought I feel like everything's going to be a bit inferior to Keepers 1 and 2, so why bother? But you know, if it's not like that, and there's a different sort of element to it, then yeah, fair enough, it might be worth a go. I don't know though. I've just never felt compelled to try them, to be honest.
So what you're saying is in the last 2 live streams, you've written off New Bodom and you've written off power metal. Those whole 2 genres.
and
just fuck off. Didn't you want them?
I never ever got on with the whole New Album thing. Iron Maiden was so far ahead of everybody else for me, and then it took me years to get into Saxon, and I think they are so far below Iron Maiden, even though I like them. I think, well, if it was sort of worse than Saxon, I needn't fucking bother. Because I don't think they're any great shakes, personally. I think they're okay, but I couldn't wade through all that stuff like Cloudy does. Fucking hell.
I don't know what that says about me, to be honest, or what you think. feel like I'm going through bins. Just going through the anyway. So I just so happen to have my full HammerFall collection on my desk because it got sent to me recently.
It's bigger than mine.
I have. I've had this one for ages, and in fact, when Greg sent me this one again, I remember I couldn't remember it, and I thought I didn't like the band, and I'd got rid of the CD, but I realized I still had it, and I played it. And I thought, actually, yeah, this is good shit. I like it, but it is that kind of generic power metal. And what you were so this one is Threshold, the other one that you sent me, which is good, but I couldn't tell you much about it because it just sounds like HammerFall. And what you were saying about a band having a big catalogue and trying to dive straight in, I did that with Iron Savior and Gamma Ray to some degree, and I've got 25 plus CDs between the two bands, and I couldn't tell you which song was on which album, to be honest. And it's going to take a very long time before I'll be able to differentiate between them. And they are sort of samey, but I think Gamma Ray and Iron Savior have something a little bit different. Whereas Primal Fear, Darcy sent me something from Primal Fear, and it kind of has that samey power metal vibe. So I kind of know where you're coming from, Mike, but I'm not prepared to discount the whole thing. But I'm also not prepared to go into the symphonic side that we were talking about before, the whole symphonic power metal. And there's loads of people on the VC doing videos and love that kind of stuff. And I just I don't get that. The symphonic side is just too far removed from what I like. So I'm adding that to the things we're discounting, symphonic power metal.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But I'm quite new to them. I'd heard of them briefly, just from magazines and the internet. But I was, until I started making videos and was a part of the VCMC, I wasn't very aware of them. Paul DeVito, who's watching us now, he was kind enough to send me this along with another CD, which I haven't yet had a listen to, but I'm aware that
all right.
Yeah, I've heard it's meant to be okay, and I'm certainly going to give it a whirl. And I'll tell you what I'll do, because Paul was kind of send me this. If I don't like it, I'll send it to you, Scott.
Oh, superb!
There you go.
Take it.
But yeah, I'm aware of them. I've heard quite good things about them. Not really a band that I've paid that much attention to. I know Bev's a big fan.
I hope you hate it now.
I'm a little bit the same as Mike. Yeah. I'll just send it anyway. Hold on. Which way is it? That way. I'm a bit the same as Mike. And I think because of the journey I was on, Halloween, as much as I was listening to thrash and death metal, Halloween did it for me. And all these other power metal bands were coming out, and I just thought, how do you compete with them? I don't really want to start getting into all that. And it is an endless wormhole of bands. And I just wasn't prepared to go down there, because I still had an endless wormhole of thrash bands and doom bands and death metal bands and grindcore bands I had. So yeah, it's I'm very much aware of them. I shall give them a listen. Thank you, Paul, for sending me that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for sending that. Thanks for sending that to Scott. You're a good man. But yeah, I don't know much about them. I believe the vocalist Joaquin Cans, I think his name is, or something like that. He's got a set of pipes.
Oh yeah.
What we on?
Aye.
Right. Very overlooked UK thrash on Metal Blade from 1991. Where we at? The Ignorance, the Confident Rat. Look at that. You don't get much more English than those guys on that photo. These lot were the support band when Mordred came over here and toured. So it's thrash, but it takes its foot off the pedal. It's by no means as thrashy as every other UK thrash band. And there's a bit of that 1991, short-lived, funk metal element put in there as well. But there's a song about Sean Connery on it, so anyone Scottish needs to hear that. And yeah, I really like it. It takes me back to that time when Mordred came over and 1991, wearing sort of colourful pants and t-shirts and fucking listening to Faith No More. And it was just another one in the whole Faith No More, Chili Peppers, Mordred. It was just another one of them. There was Atom Seed as well that were very similar. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've mentioned it to a few people. I don't know anyone that's ever jumped on it and give me any feedback though. But yeah, I really like it.
I think it's an absolutely sensational album.
That was quite good, that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I quite like that album. When you were talking there, did you not send me that on vinyl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really good album.
A while back.
Yeah, I think it's really good. Before you said Faith No More, that's what I was thinking. They're like almost like a poor man's Faith No More. But
yeah,
that's not saying that they're bad. That's just saying that Faith No More were better. But I really enjoyed it. I actually listened to that maybe a couple of weeks ago. And I really enjoy it. Like you say, it has got that kind of like funk, kind of alternative kind of sound about it. Those kind of thrashy moments as well. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that album. So I am a fan.
Are they in the book, Mike?
I think they are. Yeah, I don't.
The book.
Yeah, well, mine's through there, but yeah, check. Have a listen. Have a read.
I've not got to that page yet, but I have to say the picture of them would put me off. I didn't like that. Just the colourful clothes in metal music thing, the t-shirts and the 3/4 length trousers. That just didn't sit right with me at all. And even some of the sort of funk element as well, which I don't mind so much now. I would give him a chance because I've been on such a massive UK thrash metal kick of late. In fact, that's all UK thrash metal CDs.
Just to interrupt there, when I say funk metal, back in 1991, if someone picked a fucking bass string, just bang bang, that was classed as funk metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and we're really only at, what do you think, Scott? We're really only at that level of funk metal here, aren't we? Picking the odd bass string out.
Yeah, maybe a wee slap here and there, but that's about
it. Yeah, there's no crazy shit on it that you would go like, oh my god, no.
It's a lot like Mike said. It's a lot like Faith No More and Mordred, and maybe like a level down from that.
And I quite like that. That Mordred album you went on for a long time, and I found a copy when I was in Liverpool, and that was all right. I enjoyed that. But as I say, just the sometimes the image just kind of sticks with you. You think, I'm not going to like that. They don't look like the sort of band I would like.
That's exactly the same for me. I've got no idea why Anthrax managed to pull that look off, and the English bands, it was almost like they were like, "Wow, they're just taking off Anthrax." But yeah, I was aware of the band Ignorance. I knew them, but as Mike said, there was a lot of bands coming up at that time and had that look about them. Faith No More were all over the charts. I kind of didn't really pay much attention for that same reason that Andy just said then, just the way they looked. I just thought they looked like a bit of a comedy band. An album called The Confident Rat. It kind of wasn't cool enough for me. Acid Rain was about the sort of furthest humorous band I would go. I do need to give it a listen, to be honest, because I've been aware since I've known Mike that he's a big fan of it. And we've got a lot of Mordred haters watching this stream at the moment. And I'm not one of them. I loved Phil's game when it came out. I understand, like, their second album had a lot more scratching going on, but Art LeBoon, the bass player, because he slapped the strings a little bit, so that was it. And at that time, you know, Suicidal Tendencies were putting a bit of funk in there. Right were putting a bit of funk in there. It was rife. You know, you couldn't escape it. But I'm getting off the subject now, but some of those songs off the Mordred album are pure thrash songs. You know, they're not all full bass. Anyway, Ignorance, I need to give them a bit more of a check out. I'm a huge fan of UK thrash. Whether you would class them as UK thrash, I'm not sure.
It's on Music for Nations in this country as well, actually.
Right.
So you've got to just try it, Andy.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a whirl.
When I get to that chapter, because that's such a great, such a great book that if you're reading about bands that you never heard, it's just like I read up on it and then I go and sample it.
That logo looks quite similar to a logo I recognise there.
I think they might have ripped us off. Or
those bastards.
Might have been the other way around. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe not.
Maybe we'll just have to plug that book every episode to keep them happy.
If anyone knows a lawyer, could you please prop his number in the comments below? Thank you. Right.
Okay, let's go for J. Mark G with a J. Never gets boring.
Brilliant. I love it.
So we're going to turn it up a level now, boys.
Here we go.
This is a band from Wisconsin in America, 2018 release. I saw these guys play in Manchester last year with an Italian band called Ultraviolence, who were thrash. This is a death metal band. And this album cover, which I'm going to hold up now, it's got to be one of the greatest album covers I have seen in recent times. This band is called Jungle Rot, and they play what I would call, I mean, it's superb death metal, but it's gateway death metal. If you're not a fan of death metal and you're wanting to, a bit like Scott, you know, he's dipping his toe in. It's superb. It's simple. It's very, very obituary-like. The vocals aren't as good as John Tardy's. They're still good, but I don't know if you can zoom that in a little bit and you can see a little bit of this artwork, but it's just, I've spoken about I buy albums because of the covers a lot of the time. And that, as soon as I saw that, I wasn't sure how I didn't know the band. I don't know why, because they've been going about 20 years, I think. This is about their 8th or 9th album. But it's brilliant. And you do a cover of, if you can see it there, Terrible Certainty by Creator. Okay. They are the class of the death metal band, but they're very much teetering on the edge of sort of thrash and death metal. It's the type of band that I think if you were a basic or a half decent guitar player, you could pick these riffs up no problem. Which, you know, when I was a kid growing up playing the guitar and listening to the likes of Bolt Thrower and Obituary, bands like that, you know, Death, even early Death, these bands were massive for me. So if you're not aware of Jungle Rot and you like death metal, the simple side of death metal, like your Obituaries and your Bolt Throwers, I suppose, check them out. But I've got this on CD. I had to buy it on album just because of that cover. It's fabulous. Jungle Rot, and the album is just self-titled Jungle Rot.
Well, that was the That was the album that I'm sure I mentioned that in a chat. I was actually going through HMV, basically just flicking through albums, and I saw Jungle Rot. I used to see the cover all the time, and I love that cover. It's an awesome cover. And then I just kind of got to the stage where I was like, right, I need to listen to it. Listened to it, and I thought, like I've been telling you guys, obviously dipping my toe into the death metal, and that was the one I kind of put up on the chat to say, this is superb. Like you say, you could have said it better when you said it's like a gateway album, because I'm at that stage just now. I can't take anything like too extreme, so I'm kind of like just starting off at the bottom and kind of working my way in. And I really enjoyed the album, but it was the cover that drew me in the first place.
Yeah, I remember you showing that one actually, Mark. That's why I recognise it. But not heard them, as you're probably not surprised to hear. But interesting by some of these descriptions of it being groove death metal.
Mm, yeah.
I didn't realise that was a thing. I thought that would be a bit of kind of like an oxymoron with groove and death and. There's no
quick drum beats in it really. You know, the quickest they get is like a thrash metal band would. There's no blast beats. It is just very, very. Yeah, they've said it perfectly. It is quite groovy. It is a riff fest. It's really, really full of great riffs. And for the likes of you, say, it's got the gruff vocals, but you can make out what he's saying. You know, it's if you were thinking of you know, stepping over to the dark side, I'd say that's a good album for you to have a listen to.
Fair enough.
I remember you showing that as well for the album cover and that, and I do think I've heard them, but only one song or something, and I can't honestly remember what I thought now. And I don't know how come I never heard of them either. If they've been going 20 years and 8 albums out or whatever, I don't know why I never heard of them. I've no recollection of the name though before you showed them a while back. I think Tony Tainted Lord's a big fan as well. I'm sure I've seen John lots of stuff like that, but no, I've just never.
Well, that was the one I put on Facebook, Mike, and you went to check it out and you didn't like the vocals.
Did I know?
No, you said something about the vocals not being maybe not true death metal vocals or something like that.
All right. Well, I was probably absolutely spot on then.
It's all right. I've got your opinions written right here.
Oh, I tell you what, I remember now. I think the vocals were a bit off for me.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Mike's either spot on or just full of Morgan Spice. So
yeah,
either one.
I can guess which one.
Should we go with K then?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I'm going back to the 80s. In fact, this band started off in the 70s, but I only really like the 80s stuff. And this is a band I've only recently, last 5 years, kind of got into. Have picked up 5 or 6 of their albums. In fact, I think I've got all of their 80s catalogue now. I was down in Birmingham, and I was with Greg Blackmore Rules when he was over from Canada, and we were in a shop called the Discovery, and he picked up an album and he gave it. And this is sort of record shop where they just play music and they love music, and you can just go to them, give them a good record, just stick that on for me, and they'll stick it on. And he stuck this album on, and honestly, within 30 seconds, I'd gone over and said, "I'm having that. I'm buying it." And that was Krokus, One Vice at a Time. Now, Krokus, they get labelled a lot of kind of an AC/DC clone, but they've got a little bit more about them than that. Like the Mark Starace, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. I mean, he certainly has a little bit of the Bon Scots about him, and the music itself is more sort of on the AC/DC hard rock side than heavy metal. But yeah, Long Stick Goes Boom was the song that really, really sucked me in. And they had it on in the shop, and it's a small shop, and they blasted it out. And I was like, yeah, this is a great band. I'm gonna have these. Yeah, so Long Stick Goes Boom, Bad Boys, Ragdolls, Down the Drain, American Woman. I just love it. It's ballsy, it's in your face, and you got to play it loud. It's great stuff. Now, Krokus, I think, are a Swiss band, which I would have known unless I'd looked up at the time. They certainly sound like they're a bit more American, I guess. But if you like AC/DC, I'm not the biggest AC/DC fan. I like AC/DC, but I don't own a lot of their stuff. I certainly own more Krokus albums than I do AC/DC, though. They did go a lot more commercial. In fact, I like this. I think maybe the one before and everything up to, they did an album called The Blitz. So they did a cover of Ballroom Blitz, which is horrendous. I hate that. And that whole album is kind of spoiled because they've got Ballroom Blitz cover on it. But yeah, before this, the 80s stuff, Krokus, you gotta check him out.
Well, the only Krokus album I've heard is Headhunter, and
That's a great.
It was just too AC/DC. It was like happy. It was like happy rock.
Yeah,
I think I liked it. I think I got about 4 songs in, and I thought it was all right. I didn't have any problem with it. I thought it was pretty good. And then there was a couple of songs in a row. I thought that's AC/DC, and that's really not sitting well with me at all. So I mean, by now you kind of know my feelings on AC/DC, so that kind of really put me off.
I can see that.
I used to have a best of Krokus CD, and I sold it because I didn't like the cover. But I liked the music that was on it. But the cover pissed me off, and you know what? I actually thought there might be one of those bands. You know, there's certain types of bands, and they fetch out like 5 albums in a little cardboard thing and 5 sort of little LP sleeves in a packet, like Dokken and Rat have done and things like that. And I actually hoped they would do a package like that. And I thought, because I did enjoy the stuff on it, but I kept picking it out and looking at the cover, and I thought, I can't stand to see that cover in my collection. It's got to go. But I enjoyed the music. However, I must admit, now, so like 18 months on since I sold it, I can't really remember anything about him other than it sounded like AC/DC. But I do like AC/DC more than Scott.
Headhunter is probably a better album, but that was my introduction to them.
So,
Which is the album by Krokus that's got like the golem face on it, the golem's head?
That's Headhunter.
Is that, yeah?
Hold on.
It's got like the skull and crossbones.
No, that's not a golem. So that's not what you mean, is it?
No, it's got like a proper scary looking dude, creepy looking dude. A bit like me without glasses.
That sounds like Uriah Heep.
Yeah, sounds like was it
the Abominog
or whatever it is.
Do you know when I'm not on camera, I'll pull it out because I've got it on cassette somewhere. I can't remember the title of it. I've also got an album of theirs that's got like a woman stood at some patio windows, and
that's
Blitz, I think.
Yeah,
that's
is
not
that the one that's got? That's not. He's got the cover of Bob, but
that one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the they went a bit hello.
Yeah, that Ballroom Blitz. I can remember seeing the video for that on MTV back in the day, and that was it. That was my introduction to him, and my end. I was like, it was awful version, but I have seen they've got a lot of love in the VC, so I have checked them out, and you know I'm a fan of AC/DC as well, so I quite like them. I've not paid them a lot of attention, but I do like them. But it's funny how I tend to buy albums because I like the covers, and Mike sells albums because he doesn't like the covers.
Mike, do you have any other albums with covers that you don't like? I'll have them. Yeah. not now. I've got the Black Album. That's a shit cover.
You can't even see the covers with them on the shelf. I can understand if you particularly hated the spine, that you would like, you walk in the room, you almost see the spine of the CD, but the covers, you can't see it unless you pull it out.
I think it had like an altar in that. I think it had a religious thing, and I just
did it burn your soul?
Yeah.
Okay.
L.
Oh.
Right, this is a band I've kind of championed quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
Leatherwolf.
Oh, here we go. One on.
Oh. Leatherwolf. Also known as the Triple Axe Attack, for their use of 3 guitarists. I think they were kind of like the pioneers of the 3 guitar kind of setup. I love Leatherwolf, and if you've not heard of Leatherwolf or you don't own Leatherwolf, go and buy it because it's superb. I was actually just like running over the album yesterday, just to kind of like familiarise myself with it, and I knew it was a good album. But see, when I was just playing it yesterday, I thought this is even better than I remember. They've kind of got the things that go against them are they kind of look glam metal, but they're not. They've really got that kind of really harder edge to them. The riffs are superb. They sound very full because of the 3 guitars. They're almost like, I would say, Sabotage, like really good Sabotage, without the kind of progressive element to them. They kind of get in and get out with their songs, but their songs are just all just quality, basically. Like I said, they've got that kind of glam style, but they really are like heavy metal quality, basically. You can't. I honestly can't speak highly enough. I mean, this is from, I think, 1987. This is their debut from 1985. Pick that up as well. It's awesome. And this is from 1989. Street Ready. Also, just amazing. You can't go wrong with any of these. Not that one. This would definitely be my favourite. But it's just the whole style, all the songs, even when they get to those kind of ballads, they're not overly sappy ballads just for the sake of it. They've kind of got like a bit of substance to them. So yeah, Leatherwolf. I honestly can't speak highly enough of Leatherwolf. So if you've not heard them or don't have any, just get it because it's awesome.
I've not heard them. I don't have any. I'll have to get some. You know what? I have no idea why I haven't. I'm sure I've seen them. I'm sure you've probably shown them, and they're probably one of those ones that say I need to check out. But I've no excuse. I apologise, Scott. I'm sorry.
All right, it's fine.
I got that album on CD last year, and it's not an easy find. And then I sold it again because I did. Yeah, him there. He wanted it more than I did, really. I think, and I was like, yeah, I'll. But the reason I haven't dug into them is because them albums are astronomically priced on CD, and it's just, if they were cheaper, I remember listening to them and enjoying them though, but they're just too expensive.
I like them. Yeah, this was the first album by Leatherwolf that I heard, Street Ready, and I was. Again, I talk about this journey I was on. I I was pretty much exclusive thrash and death metal, but every now and again a band come along, and like Scott said it perfectly, they look glam metal. The name of the band sounds glam metal, but they're not. They're heavier, and I don't know if that's just because of the 3 guitars, but there were some riffs in there, some real quite interesting riffs that grabbed me. So, and like I say, I bought that album off Mike, and I enjoyed that. I've been looking for this on CD, to be honest, but it is a hard find, I have to say. But yeah, they're a deceiving band, the way they look. You know, there's a few bands like that. It's like Cinderella when you look at Night Songs.
Yeah.
And it looks like the most glam metal band you're ever going to hear. And when you hear it, it's ballsier than it looks. This is the same. This is, I think Leatherwolf are kind of bordering on, it's not, I don't think you can call it power metal, but it kind of is, you know.
It's getting there.
Yeah, it's there's riffs in there, there's driving riffs, you know. Certainly not glam. Don't let the name Leatherwolf put you off. I like them. They're not a band that I listen to a great deal of, but I know I really enjoy them. When I do listen to them, I enjoy them. And 3 guitars always makes for quite an interesting listen. You know, there's some real good harmonies and melodies going on in there.
Wait, just want to say, I think Peter's looking for a fight. So if anyone wants to go out,
Peter's he messaged me actually and said, I'm very opinionated. I hope you don't mind. And I was like, no, not at all. That's what it's all about. You know?
Absolutely, that's what it's all about.
But yeah, he's certainly not. He's not scared of letting us know, is he? Nice one, Peter.
No, no, you missed that one, Mike. You got to. So Peter's looking for a fight. So
Cinderella.
I think if I keep saying on here that, you know, everyone knows me being the heavier end. If I sort of keep saying that I quite like the odd glam metal album here, I reckon Peter might stop talking to me.
Sounds like it.
I hope not. I hope not. But
yeah, come over here and say that.
Don't worry, Peter. That's quite heavy metal. Come on.
Is it me?
Right. Yes, M.
Metal Mickey with an M. Right. Apologies for this cover because it's just the way it is, but
I'm surprised you've not sold it then.
And I don't want to hear anyone saying, "Oh, that's not heavy metal." Just fuck off with that. The Misfits, Walk Among Us, from 1982. These guys are just the best punk band ever. Punk in inverted commas, because they're not really punk, I don't think. It's not like punk that I know, but what else do you call them, I suppose? They're not strictly metal. So Glenn Danzig, obviously it's Glenn Danzig's first band, and they're influenced by old B-movie horror film type things, and just fantastic. I wouldn't give anything without Glenn Danzig. House Room from that Michael Graves and any other sort of version of the Misfits. That's just not the Misfits. That's just fucking karaoke. But the albums with the proper lineup, you can't beat them. Talk to me.
No.
I don't think anyone who was a fan of Metallica could avoid the Misfits. I wasn't aware of them. I don't know if the Misfits were a bit like Black Flag and that, and more of an American thing, you know, like an American punk thing. But
Well, they were gone by 1983, so
Yeah,
too long ago for us.
yeah, I can remember listening to the Garage Days revisiting when Jason Newsted first joined Metallica, and obviously that album full of covers, and that was the first time I'd ever heard Diamond Head, Budgie, and the Misfits, or Misfits, I should say. And I checked them out. Yeah, and a few of my friends were bang into them. I've never been a real fan of punk. I don't know what it is. I don't dislike it, but there's something about it that just I can't quite connect to it, you know. But I remember, is it Earth AD, the album Earth AD?
Yeah.
I remember hearing that, and I quite enjoy it. And I got given Famous Monsters not long ago. I'm not sure if that's the Michael Graves. I've not listened to it, but
I wouldn't cope well with that.
Yeah, from what I've been told, it's meant to be quite a cult release. I don't know, but it's on Roadrunner. So, but yeah, that's my contribution really. The only thing that I have connected to Misfits is through Metallica. Simple as that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't like the Misfits, but I've never really got them. I don't own anything by them. I don't think there's anything. There's nothing that I particularly heard or said I don't like. But yeah, they're just not for me. I can't really contribute a lot to this one, really.
I'm actually kind of the same as you, Andy. I mean, I've listened to a couple of the Misfits albums. Obviously, they're quite a universally known and popular band, but I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I liked it, but it wasn't enough for me to go out and buy their albums. I mean, I didn't sit and go, "This is absolute horseshit," but I didn't sit and go, "This is amazing" either. So I'm just kind of in the middle, really, with them.
Apparently,
it's funny because when I heard when Danzig first came out, I know they're nothing like Misfits, but I was instantly kind of drawn to Danzig, and I knew he was obviously in the Misfits or Misfits. I should stop saying the Misfits. That's like saying Vinyls, isn't it? Yeah, but I like Danzig, but I've never really paid much attention to Misfits. I don't know.
Apparently I've seen Danzig. I don't have no memory of it at all. It was only when I was looking up some of the I was going through some old gig tickets I found, and they'd supported Metallica. I think it was when I saw Metallica one time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that
in the UK back in the 80s. So, but I didn't necessarily see the support bands back then. I used to sit in the bar, being sort of 17, 18, getting bevied, and they're going to watch the main show. Now if I've got tickets, I'm there on time to see every single band, get my money's worth.
I went to see Danzig in 2013, and he had Doyle with him. Doyle is the great big giant guy out the Misfits with the real proper like hair that does that, you know, and all the like enormous muscles and all that. And he brought Doyle out with him, and they just stopped doing Danzig songs, and then just rattled out 15 Misfits songs, classic Misfits songs, and then picked back up with the Danzig stuff. And it was just the best sort of 3/4 of an hour, because Misfits songs are typically 2 to 3 minutes, you know. Absolutely just immense. But I suppose that logo and all that now, and then these other sort of reiterations of the Misfits and stuff, it's maybe detracted something from them. And quite honestly, even though I like Danzig and Misfits, Glenn Danzig's a bellend.
What about that question, Mike? Sam Hain?
Did I like Sam Hain? I only ever heard November Come and Fire, and it didn't jump out at me, no, I'll be honest.
Yeah, Vinyl has not.
He doesn't like Danzig, does he? What a great comment that was.
Right.
N. Mark G with an N.
Every time he gets me, I just like.
It's going to be the same as every time I heard someone mention Zentrix. You know what's coming.
Anyway. You can't mention it yourself, though.
Oh no! Oh,
it's like you lost me now.
Yeah, I will spoil it. I will spoil it for everybody, including myself. I showed this band in my previous update video the other day, and I've been listening to it, and I thought it's perfect time to show it again. It's been a grail of mine, but this is a Swedish band, very short-lived, and this is Nihilist. This is basically Entombed, the Swedish, death metal giants before they become Entombed. This CD is just a collection of Nihilist demos, 4 demos and an Entombed demo. And if you can see the track listed on there, no glare, you'll see most of those songs. If you can see that, most of those songs ended up appearing on Left Hand Path, Entombed's debut album. So you know exactly what you're getting with this. This is the story behind this, I believe, is Nihilist is Entombed, but with the Unleashed bass player and vocalist Johnny, and obviously for personal differences, they split up as Nihilist and reformed the next day as Entombed, but minus Johnny. I suppose that's a way to do it without upsetting or, having some kind of confrontation, isn't it? But yeah, if you like Entombed and like Swedish death metal, this is kind of where it all began. This is one of the first bands out there. I mean, you can even see by the logo. Entombed pretty much took the logo off this. I actually love the name of this band. Entombed's a great name for a band, but I love that logo, everything about it. But this is a 2020 release on Earache Records. Mentioned Jim Davies before. He messaged me and said, have you seen Earache putting out a reissue? I think there's a few unofficial releases of this, but they go for big money. They're hard to get hold of. So I was very happy to pick this up. Buzzsaw, HM2, Swedish, Sunlight Studios. Just, if you love Entombed, if you love Dismember, Grave, that kind of stuff, you are going to love this band. And these recordings, considering the demo recordings from '88, the real quality, absolute quality. But yeah, that's Nihilist, and this is called Carnal Leftovers.
So is that, you said that most of the songs off that ended up on Left Hand Path? Are they different versions?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they re-recorded them. I think Nihilist. It was, like I say, slightly different lineup to Entombed when they recorded Left Hand Path. But the songs don't differ very much. It's you've got Supposed to Rot, Carnal Leftovers, Abnormally Deceased, Revel in Flesh, When Life Has Ceased, Morbid Devourment, But Life Goes On, Shreds of Flesh. They all appeared. So, like, it's got one. I mean, they were quite prolific as well when you look at this, because they had 2 3-song demos out in '88, and then a 2-song demo in '89. And then Entombed, obviously, they split up in '89, and Entombed then released a 3-song demo. So these guys were prolific. But yeah, if you like Entombed, you're going to like these guys. Simple as that. This is kind of where it all began.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Entombed, I reckon, will probably be one of the first death metal albums I'll probably pick up. That Left Hand Path, I thought was really, really good.
Yeah.
it's not one of those albums that you think, Jesus, what the fuck's going on? It's almost, I don't want to say mellow, but it's compared to some other stuff, it's really easy to digest compared to some other like death metal albums.
Someone asked a question about the Entomb versions. The Entomb versions are obviously more professional sounding, but I had a friend, and he might be watching this, I don't know, I've spoken about him before. He was a bit of a tape trader back in the day, so he used to get hold of a lot of demos of bands, and I'm talking like the obscure Swedish bands, you know, there was like Merciless and Nirvana 2002 and Macabre End, as they were called later, God Macabre. So I always loved that demo sound, that sort of garage sound, if you will. So no, they're not as well produced as Entombed out, but if you love Entombed and you love Left Hand Path, for me they're essential. You've got to hear them, the real quality. Sorry, Scott.
That's all right. What do you think, Andy?
I first heard about them, back in, I think it was last week when you showed them on your video. I've never heard it before. I've heard of Entombed and some of the other bands you mentioned. It's just not something I would necessarily even try out. And a couple of the ones you mentioned tonight, they are on my list. Well, I'm going to be honest, that's not a band I'm particularly going to check out. Call me.
I know you really enjoy that Swedish death metal thing, and I've obviously got a dozen or so albums from that style, but in fact, no, I haven't. Half a dozen. But to me, that is like it's always been second fiddle to the American death metal for me. And I always just listened to Left Hand Path and thought the cover's better than the music. It had some all right stuff in, and it starts off really strong, but it kind of loses me interest. In fact, it starts off really strong, and then can you remember the bit on Bitter Loss when he says, for the rest of your fucking life, when he does that like clean thing throughout that song. That was the next time after the first couple of songs that I sort of, my ears pricked up and I went, oh, I like that bit. What's this song called? Oh, Bitter Loss. But I've never really, I never ever understood the hype with that album. For me, when they done Wolverine Blues, it was just so much different. And I thought, oh, well, now that I can get behind, because that's like really mixing it up a bit. But again, that's like usually the album where everyone go, oh, fuck Entombed now.
Yeah, that's kind of, I enjoy that, but that was, when they did that, I was like, what are they doing? What are they fucking doing? You know, yeah. It was like Entombed went rock and roll. Obviously, the term death and roll comes from it. I do enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but I love them. I love that. I love that HM. I love it that much that I don't care if bands come along and just do pure worship of Entombed and Grave and Dismember. I'll buy it. I'll listen to it. I can't get enough of it. I really can't.
It's pretty good though, because there's lots of it out there for you to spend your money on.
Yeah, there is. You're right.
Where are we at now?
Oh. So I'm going back to UK thrash, and I'm going back to a band which, when I first heard them, I thought they weren't thrash and didn't quite get what people were talking about when they said they were thrash, but that's Onslaught and the Force. So my introduction to Onslaught was In Search of Sanity with who's the vocalist? My mind's gone blank now. The guy,
Steve Grimmett.
Steve Grimmett, yeah. And that to me wasn't really a thrash metal album. I enjoyed it. I love it. I've got it. But when I picked up this, this is a different ball game. So this has got what Psychela on the vocals, and this is more a raspy sort of thrash metal. We were talking before about the different types of thrash metal, and this is more akin, I guess, to US thrash metal than Gamma Bomb that I was talking about. There's 7 tracks on here, so you kind of think it's going to be really short. But those first 3 tracks here are, they're all sort of like 6+ minutes long. And this is kind of in your face, aggressive. This is Flag 1, the first release on Under One Flag, which is a Music Relations label, it's a thrash metal subsidiary. And this is the album out of all the ones I'm showing today that I put on, I played, and it's been a while since I played it, and I played over and over again. It's aggressive. It's got those. It's slightly raspy vocals. Psychela certainly has the raspy vocals, whereas Steve Grimmett's a little bit cleaner. But this is in your face, relentless. God, I love it. I'm probably going to play it again. I'm not going to go back on the shelf for a while. So there we have it. Onslaught, The Force. I should have said the year, shouldn't I? But I'm totally unprepared. And I haven't got my glasses on.
It'll be the 80s.
Yeah. I love it. It's a great album. It's In Search of Sanity with Steve Grimmett is a good album, but it's polished thrash. It's precise thrash. This isn't. This is raw. This has got that sort of UK thrash attitude, hasn't it? It's completely different to In Search of Sanity.
Absolutely, yeah, totally different. And I heard that first, so I was thinking, like, I don't get why people are saying that Onslaught is great thrash band, because to me it just didn't. A good album, but it didn't have that rawness that I was looking for.
And a great logo as well. Look at that logo. Love that. But yeah, it's superb. It's a UK thrasher piece. I love it. If you first listen to, the first Onslaught album you listen to is In Search of Sanity, that is a bit of a shock, because it's looser, it's rawer, it's so different, but it's brilliant. Absolutely essential piece of UK thrash metal, that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I actually prefer In Search of Sanity, and it's actually an album I think I've picked up all 3 formats in the last 6 weeks or something. But I mean, I've heard both albums, and I know Andy, Mark, you're both definitely more into the kind of more raw sound, where I'm definitely more into the more polished, kind of more technical sound. So I suppose that's just where we differ. Both, I would say, are great albums.
I like that too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I love that polished sound as well.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like both albums, but if I had to pick between one, I would pick In Search of Sanity.
I know In Search of Sanity actually better, to be honest. So I heard that one first, so I couldn't disagree with that at all.
I've never heard it, to be honest. I came into Onslaught when In Search of Sanity came out, and I'd never heard of them until that 12-inch came out of the Let There Be Rock, and there was a video for it, and it was on Power Hour or whatever, and that was where I got into that. But I've never ever seen that previous Onslaught album. anywhere to be able to pick it up. And otherwise, unless it was ludicrously priced, I would have picked it up. But I've just never seen it, and I suspect it is ludicrously priced on CD anyway. So, I'll maybe download it and have a listen or whatever. And but I've not heard it. No,
I would be surprised if you didn't like it. It's kind of got that from what you've already mentioned tonight, that 80s thrash sound that you cannot replicate today through modern production or just through bands not just doing it anymore. It's raw, it's in your face, and the vocals are they're raspy. They're not throaty like death metal vocal or a Chuck Billy type vocal, but they are they're raw. They're raw. They're really good.
Right,
You like the cover though.
Yeah,
That's what counts.
Or is it too much?
I like the cover better than the In Search of Sanity cover.
I do as well. Yeah, that light bulb. What's that all about?
Yeah.
And what that intro spoils that. You've got to miss that intro out on In Search of Sanity. It's too long.
Do you know what? It's been that long since I actually listened to In Search of Sanity. Sanitary.
That was in March, In Search of Sanitary.
That's a totally.
Is that what the album? Is that the album cover? Is it a padded toilet?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Shit. Let's move on.
Move on to P.
Talking of sanitary.
Sanitary. Yeah. Have a pee, please, Bob.
Well, people might think this is shit, especially Peter, judging by the cover. Mike would definitely throw this out. Phantom Blue with their debut Phantom Blue from 1989. Have a look at that. So, Phantom Blue are apparently the first or the only female act to be signed to Shrapnel. But again, it's the same as Leatherwolf. Don't judge the cover and the look. I mean, that just looks like California bubblegum 1987 pop. But and that's what kind of I expected when I went to listen to it. But they've actually got quite a tough edge to them. They do have thrashy moments. I wouldn't say it, I mean they're heavy metal. They're not hair metal. They look hair metal, they look glam. They look like a Vixen or something like that. But no, they've definitely got that kind of like thrashy heavy metal edge. They're not glam metal. It was actually co-produced by Marty Friedman. And I'm pretty sure one of the members went on to form Iron Maidens, which are, I think that Nita Strauss used to play for from Alice Cooper. But yeah, give it a listen. They've got 2 albums. I think they've got their debut and they've got Built to Last, which I think was released in the early 90s. But yeah, don't judge the cover. I mean, it's horrific. That just says 80s pop, but it's actually it's heavy metal. So
No,
Phantom Blue.
He's right. Both of their albums are awesome, but the fucking price of them's horrible. They're just so fucking hard to get hold of, especially the second one.
Mm.
The second one will run you back £100 on vinyl, and both of them on CD are 40, 50 quid. They're on my want list. Well, the second one I've had a couple of times, but I've managed to make good money on selling it on. So I'm not married to it. But yeah, it's a lot heavier than you'd ever think looking at that cover. Good album.
Well, you've surprised me because I am totally put off by the cover. Totally. And I've seen people show it and I've seen plenty of people throw it on Facebook, and I would never ever have bought it. And the fact that you even mentioned thrash once in that description completely shocks me. That word could ever be associated with an album with that cover.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're not a thrash. They're not
No,
a thrash.
I got
they do
that.
have like thrash elements.
And that's a kind of a good way to it's a good word to kind of throw in to show there are heavier elements to it. But yeah, that cover, I would be with Mike on this one. I would be thinking, I wouldn't even buy it, let alone have it in my collection to sell. So, but then I've heard about how great it is and how impossible it is to get. So it's kind of like you're dangling, some in front of me and then telling me to fuck off. You can't have it. So yeah, thanks for that, Scott.
I'd never even heard of him until I started watching people on YouTube, and they talk really highly of it. And I have heard before, people said don't let the cover put you off. The cover just screams Vixen. It really does. It's just, AOR, American radio friendly rock. But I've heard Mike talk about it before, saying it's brilliant. I've heard Nathan, Robert Blackstar. I've heard loads of people say that it's an absolute cracker of an album. So to hear Scott say that it's heavy metal, it's got a little bits of not thrash in there, but it's not what it seems. I probably need to just have a listen to it. I don't know if it'll be my thing, but I'm certainly going to check it out for sure, without a doubt.
So why did they look like that? Is that purely trying to sex sells?
Probably.
Sure. It must be. I mean,
plus it was 1989.
Yeah, it was 89. But the thing is, I mean, it doesn't even matter the way they look. Even the colours and the design of the album doesn't really do much for them. Nobody's going to say heavy metal from that.
No. One of them's dead now, isn't she?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think one of them died.
So not fixing.
Oh well, yeah, one of them's died as well. The really tidy one.
Is any of those members from Phantom Blue go on to be in Vixen, or got nothing to do with them?
No.
There's loads of it. Yeah, they're heavier than Vixen. They're like, like I would say Vixen were like hard rock, AOR, kind of 80s with pop elements and stuff. That's heavy metal.
Yeah.
Right. It just doesn't look heavy metal.
No,
it's bizarre.
I mean, even look at the Leatherwolf one and you think that's got a commercial look, hair metal, but that's even worse. I mean, if you're trying to sell a heavy metal album, why the fuck does it look like that?
Yeah.
Damn right. Yeah, damn right.
It's like it looks like a
Banana
a mid-80s pop group.
It looks like the soundtrack to Beverly Hills 50210, whatever it was called.
That was close. Different district.
Yeah.
So yeah,
right.
Check them out.
Are we on to Q?
Yep.
Very, very limited Qs in this house. But I'm going to go for Operation Mindcrime. I heard this album back in the day, and I picked out songs like Jesus, where's it at? Eyes of a Stranger, I Don't Believe in Love. They were like they were the singles, and I really liked them. And I kept going back to them songs, and then I would try the album, and I just couldn't get what everyone was getting from it. And then I bought it because I went to see Jeff Tate a couple of years ago, and he was going to perform the album in its entirety. And I bought this purely to try and make the experience better before I got there, And luckily for me, the week I bought it and really started to digest it I seem to be the sort of person who needs to go out and buy something to really enjoy it for some reason. And when I'd done that, the week of going to the concert, it clicked with me, and I thoroughly enjoyed the concert, and then started buying all the Queensrÿche stuff up until the early 90s, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But this is fantastic. I think now probably my favourite is Spreading the Disease on it. I don't know. I've seen people in the VC say this is the best album that's ever made and all this shit. I wouldn't go that far, but it is awesome. It's certainly worth your time.
So I bought it for exactly the same reason you did. I was going to see Geoff Tate doing the 30th anniversary tour of it.
Yeah, you did before me, didn't you?
Yeah, it's an album I used to see on vinyl everywhere, and whenever I had a budget and I would buy stuff, I'd always put that back because I thought I'll just pick that up anytime. And now I can't find it anywhere, so I picked up that same CD. I don't think it's the best album ever, like as you say, some people do, but it's good. And the concept albums go, it's kind of good. The story flows through when you read the booklet, whatever, and it's a good album. And it was great seeing it live, but my whole experience from it and seeing him live is that I think Geoff Tate is a bit of a cock, I have to say. I just remember seeing posts on Facebook the day of the gig saying, if you want a meet and greet with Geoff, it's 40 quid, and there was like you can pay in advance, you can do it, but you turned up at the night and there was no merch table at all, but there was a table and there was this handwritten note scrawled with a big Sharpie, not even bestest handwriting, and it just said meet and greet Geoff, 50 quid. So they added on an extra tenner on the night, and it was just like the worst hand. It was like some 10-year-old kid had gone in and just like, oh, we'll add tenner on here because it'd be fun. And all he had to do, I think, was buy as many CDs off Amazon as he could for a tenner, and then say he was going to sign them on the night, and he could have sold them for 15, 20 quid, and he would have made a lot more money than 50 quid a pop at a meet and greet. But the gig was good. I do like the album, but it's not my favorite from them at all. I prefer, Rage? Is it Rage for Order? I can never remember the name of that one.
Yeah.
And your favorite song, The Warning. I like that one as well.
Warning.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's in like people's top 10 lists of all time, and it's not even the best Queensrÿche album. Never mind the best album. I think the worst thing you can do is listen to the songs in bits. Like if you pick a song out the album and you listen to it, it's not the best song. You've really got to sit and listen to the album and take it in as a whole, like it was meant to be.
I agree.
Don't get me wrong, I think it's a really good album, but I think it does get hyped up. I like the first 3 releases from them. Even the EP is really good. The Warning's great. The Warning's great. Rage for Order is actually an album that I used to really hate, and that was the album I was going to show in the first live stream. When I first bought that, it was based on just a couple of songs, and when I bought it, I thought, this is absolute shite. And it really took me a bit of time to kind of digest it. So yeah, I reckon the 3 before that are better than Operation Mindcrime. But it is good in its own right. But it does have to be listened to top to bottom, rather than just pick a song out here and there.
It's almost like watching a movie. You can't just like go in and watch a scene. You've got to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do like it, and I think it's a great concept album. But yeah, not the best album of all time.
I like it. Yeah, I was back in the day, I had a couple of friends who were huge fans of it. So if ever we were going anywhere driving, they'd always have it on. So it kind of really resonated with me, that album. It's only quite recently that I've gone back to discover Rage for Order and The Warning. I was at Donington when Queensrÿche played. They just released the album Empire. So the majority of the songs they played were off that, but they played a couple of the songs, Eyes of a Stranger especially. And it's a great song, that. I like him. I've heard Jeff Tate is a cock, but I like the music. I think, what's the guitarist called? The Giorgio, or he's got a DeGarmo. Is it DeGarmo? Great guitar player. As musicians, you know, I really enjoy him, and I enjoyed that concept. I'm quite lucky with the concept albums because my sort of OCD doesn't allow me to play just a couple of songs off an album. If I play a CD, I'm playing it until it's just stops spinning. Yeah, I'm the same in the car. My missus will tell you, if I'm on my way home from work, if I pull up outside and there's still 2 songs playing, I sit in the car and play them till the end. So concept albums suit me down to the ground. I like him. I thought Jeff Tate had a great voice. He's still got quite a decent voice from what I believe. But yeah, whether it's a top 10 album of all time, I'm not sure about that. But it's I would recommend to anyone who's a fan of metal to listen to it. I think it's a good one, a real good one. Okay. So, Mark G with an R.
Nailed it.
Yeah, we are an R, aren't we? So, talking of Rage for Order, it's quite a nice little segue going into this. But this is a German band. I know Mike is a fan of this band. This album I'm going to show is their second release from 88. Is that right? 87 even. And they sound nothing like they do now.
Awesome.
And this is Rage Execution Guaranteed. I have told the story in a couple of my other videos. Me and Paul were singing of Enchantment. There was a record shop in our local town. Never used to stock any metal albums, but they were kind enough to always give us their order book to have a look through. And we used to pick out all sorts of different albums from this book. It's where we got Nuclear Assault, Survive, and Under the Influence, Overkill, all sorts. And I spotted this, and I was instantly attracted to the cover. The name of the band, the name of the album, the names of the songs. So I bought it. And not many of my friends were really big fans of these because they're not. I suppose we were on that journey. I talk about it a lot, that thrash journey. These were a little bit more power metal, speed metal orientated, heavy metal orientated than thrash. But they had those thrash elements in it. Down by Law, Execution Guaranteed, just great songs. Deadly Error, Peavy, the vocalist, he's a top musician. And this was the second album, like I say. God knows how many albums they've got out now. I've got quite a few of them. They must have about 20 albums out by now. And he keeps sort of the band members in for a couple of albums and seems to sort of swap and change, a bit of a Dave Mustaine, I suppose, eh? But they're very what you would call symphonic now. And probably one of the only sort of bands that are symphonic that I can kind of stomach, and I think it's just purely because I've loved them from way back in the day. I don't like the new stuff as much as the older stuff. It was a toss-up between this album and Perfect Man I was going to show, because I absolutely love that album as well. But this was my introduction to Rage. Just quality, power metal, speed metal, bordering on thrash metal. It's just brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of it. And I picked this up on vinyl not long ago. I've got it on CD, but I was very happy to get it on vinyl. Yeah, Rage, Execution Guaranteed. Check it out.
So, Mark, when you said symphonic, then is that how they sound now? Because I would never.
Yeah, I don't know if you would.
Rage.
I don't know if you'd class them as a symphonic metal band now, but they've got elements of that. They're very, very like classy power metal. You know, like real. He tends to sort of get guitar virtuosos in there on the material, and I think they've recorded albums with orchestras, and you know they're very they're nothing like those first few albums where they were kind of, like I say, traditional power metal version on thrash. They kind of mellowed out as the albums have got. They're still heavy, don't get me wrong, but you'd certainly definitely bracket them in the power metal, you know, now with probably elements of symphonic in there.
Yeah, so I mean that was also my introduction to them, but we're talking in the last few years. I was aware of them for a long time, but hadn't picked up anything by them, and that was my introduction because I could get hold of it. But the album I really wanted was the one you mentioned there, Perfect Man, because that to me, that is one of my favorite covers of all time. I would have bought this if I'd have, or when I bought Execution Guaranteed and hated it, I would have still bought that just for the cover, because that's I don't. There's something about it. It just, that to me is one of my top 10 metal covers of all time. And I hadn't noticed before you mentioned about the fact that they got a bit of a revolving door of members. That so the four guys on there, PV, and this is, bear in mind these albums are back to back. PV is the only guy that's on here, and they're a 3-piece here now. I don't know if they're a 3-piece.
On the next album, he was
bass and drums, his vocals and a bass. So he sacked everybody after this maybe, and then moved on to here. But I love both of these. They're good, a great sort of German heavy metal band. Good choice.
Yeah, I love them. I only do the 80s stuff, and I stop after Secrets in a Weird World. I heard the new album actually, and it's not bad, but it's not the same for me. But Down by Law is an awesome kick-off, isn't it? And it's just unfortunate for them because that guy that owned Noise Records, he was happy enough to pad his label out with a band that he thought was like substandard, but they came to him cheap. They had no fucking strength in the contract. He walked all over the bands back then, and they were just like a little extra to open up for bigger bands and stuff like that to keep the money coming into a degree. So they never really got anywhere because he didn't deem them worthy of investment, really. You know, but the 80s output's superb.
Yeah, the first 4 albums are brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean that's where I am with Rage. I don't actually own any Rage stuff yet. It's just not a band that I've kind of like prioritized picking up the material. But I mean, it's all good. Although I did listen to the new album and I thought it was cheesy. The lyrics were cheesy, and because it was just released this year, I think. So yeah. I checked it out and I thought, nah, that's not for me. It's definitely the 80s stuff is, I think, where it's at. But something I've never picked up from them yet. Yeah. So
yeah, it really surprised me, Mark, when you mentioned about their modern sound. I mean, I'm totally put off even trying. I know they've got millions of albums, and now they and also that you mentioned the fact they're a bit of a revolving door. It sounds a little bit like Annihilator, but Annihilator seem to be pretty consistent with their output, regardless of who they've got in the band.
Yeah, yeah, they're not. I've never found them to be consistent. I've got quite a lot of the. I think I've probably got about a dozen or so of their albums, and they've been on all sorts of numerous different labels, Gun Records. I think they're signed to Nuclear Blast now, but they're like journeymen, or PV, the main guy. He's like a journeyman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some of the. Scott said it. I think some of the newer stuff, it's a little bit cheesy. It is a little bit cheesy. You know, there's a bit of guitar wankery in there, and it's that sort of cheap. Yeah, no, I do too. But it's yeah, it's not. If you love those albums you showed there, Andy, the new stuff's like a completely different band. Really is.
What's the 1990 album like? That Reflections or something? Is it what's that one like?
Reflections of a Shadow. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've got it there. It's. Now it's the same.
That was one I was tempted by.
It's the same lineup, but they've changed to this shit logo for some reason.
Yeah.
Which you know, if you had this, you'd probably sell it.
Yeah, I'll go one worse. I've got fucking Execution Guaranteed and Perfect Man with that shit logo. And I would have killed myself.
It's all right, but Secrets in a, this is the one after Secrets in a Weird World. It's the same lineup, so he's kept this lineup, I think, for 3 or 4 albums. But you know, he's donned a headband now, PV.
Yeah,
says it all.
So Secrets in a Weird World. I don't have that one, but I know as good as Perfect Man is as a cover, it's not a good cover. It's just a
picture of the band, isn't it? It's a good album.
These weren't decisions by what you lot need to buy is the Noise record, Damn the Machine. It's fucking fantastic. I just constantly keep reading it, and these bands had no say whatsoever. And that Carl Wallerbach, or whatever they called him, he just run roughshod over everybody, and he decided. And that cover for Secrets in a Weird World, they had a whole different cover organised for that. And he couldn't be asked going and getting it and then taking it to the printers. And he went, oh, fuck that. And just took a random photograph of the band, made someone do something quickly and put that off as the cover. And when they went to collect their first consignment of albums that they'd pressed, and they'd seen them all, he never even told them, and they were as disappointed as anyone when they'd seen the cover. But he just wasn't fucking interested in them. You know, it's an awesome book, though. You need to buy that.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, yeah, I will do.
Right.
Okay. Who's next?
S. So this is one of my top 10 albums of all time. Now I may have about 15 albums that are in my top 10, but this is definitely in my top 10 of all time. And I'm going to go straight to it. And Suicidal Tendencies, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow, When I Can't Even Smile Today. I got introduced to Suicidal Tendencies. The first ever blind buy that I remember buying was their debut album, which was around '87, and that would have been a reissue. I've got it here because I loved the cover. I just thought I loved what they. I had no idea what hardcore was or anything, but I just loved the fact that the shirts with all the stuff written on, and kind of the way that the red writing and everything like that. Just I bought it and I loved it, and then I went on and heard things like obviously Join the Army, but this was the album that really really clicked with me. So I guess they've always been classed as a thrash album, a thrash band, thrash, maybe thrash crossover. I'm not gonna say that I think this is a particularly a thrash album. It has thrash elements to it, but from start to finish, this is phenomenal. This is a UK pressing. I think the US pressing has a song on called is it Suicidal Tendencies or something? And I've got that on CD, and when I play that, it freaks me out because there's a song in there that shouldn't be there. It's still a great song, but it to me it's not part of the album. But Trip to the Brain, Hearing Voices, Pledge of Allegiance, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow. I mean, this to me is a 10 out of 10 album. Everything about it I absolutely love. It's got slow bits to it. It's got fast bits to it. It's upbeat at times. It's atmospheric at times. This is my quintessential Suicidal Tendencies album. I also love the Controlled by Hatred that came after it. I don't get when people say that Lights, Camera, Action is the best album. That was a little bit more, I guess, raw after this and funky after this. But this to me was the tipping point that made me think this album, Desert Island Discs, this is with me 110% of the way. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's brilliant. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's these guys played on what was it called? Clash of the Titans. So they've gone a long way from this album, because I think Clash of the Titans was around the time of Lights, Camera, Revolution. But I was intrigued with this band because looking at them, they didn't look like a thrash band. They were kind of being lumped in with the whole thrash thing, weren't they? But Rocky George, the guitar player, what a great guitar!
Awesome! Yeah, I meant to mention him specifically, but yeah.
He knows how to write a riff, that boy. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, just even the name of the album, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile Today. Pledge of Allegiance, always loved that song. Trip at the Brain. Everyone's got to know Trip at the Brain. And look at that logo as well.
Is that an original CD you've got there? Is that like a UK pressing? Does it have that?
Yeah,
extra?
It does. Yeah, it's the '88 one with Suicidal Mania on.
Yeah, I got that. As I say, it's a good song, but it's almost like
I've never heard the. I don't think I've heard the vinyl version of it without that, to be honest. Or I can't remember it.
Whereas I think it sticks out like a sore thumb because it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but it's a brilliant album. Like you say, how it's pigeonholed, I'm not quite sure what you want to call it, because their roots were firmly in sort of hardcore and skater sort of that side of things, and when you listen to Lights, Camera, Revolution, that's more of a standard sort of thrash album, I suppose, isn't it? But I love it, absolutely love it. It's it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yo, you're just one short, Mark.
Yeah, only because
it's 10. I've already told you it's 10.
Do you know what? Actually, the bandana takes it down to a 9. Thinking about it, the cap with Suicidal written underneath the peak. How many people did I see back in the day, in the late 80s, with Suicidal on the inside of a peak on their cap?
The Rocky George looks cool. He's going to be worth an extra like 0.75 at least.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to let you have it. It's a 10 out of 10. No, I love it. Love that album. Love the band.
Do you remember? I don't know if it was in Kerrang or Metal Hammer, but remember reading how Megadeth and Suicidal Tendencies. There was almost like an Oasis Blur type face off, and about Mike Muir being like a street fighter and streetwise, and Dave Mustaine being like a kickboxer, and kind of challenging each other, going like, I could take him on.
Mike Muir would have wiped the floor with Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, I reckon he'd
Definitely.
He'd be dirty with it as well, wouldn't he? He'd just.
He's a fucking unit.
Yeah, he is.
Fuck that. I'm actually.
How can you put it any better? How can you put it any better? Fucking unit. He is a fucking unit.
I'd be fucking running that way.
Yeah.
I'm actually. I wouldn't say new to Suicidal Tendencies, but I've actually just started picking up their stuff. Maybe in the last year. I mean, I can't really touch on anything more than what you've already said. I think I've not listened to all their stuff. I think I've listened to maybe their first 3 or 4 albums, but really, really good. I mean, I only listened to that. How Can I Laugh Tomorrow? Maybe last week, and it's absolutely awesome. I also own Lights Camera Revolution, and that's I don't know if I can actually pick right now which one I like the best. I probably have to go with Lights Camera Revolution. I think it is a better album, but that's just off the cuff. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I haven't heard it. I've heard what happened was I've heard Trip at the Brain, obviously, and I've heard the title track because that's also on that Feel Like Shit Deja Vu.
Even Gareth's getting in on the thing with the covers now, Mike.
You can fuck off, Gareth.
That's our loyal viewer you're talking to.
Yeah.
Be nice, Mike. Be nice, please.
Well, he knows I'm joking. So what happened was when that came out in '88, so many other albums came out in '88, and I'd got my teeth into Suicidal early with that first album, and enjoyed that, but I wasn't that wild about it. I thought it was okay, but there was that much stuff coming out, and in '88. That Suicidal album just passed me by. I was listening to other things and buying other things and stuff, and it wasn't until that Feel Like Shit came out the year after. A mate of mine bought it, and we were listening to it and that. And then when Lights Camera came out, that just fucking blew me away. I just think that was easily their best album. But I've not really heard that apart from about 3 songs off it over the years, so I need to pick that up. I stopped after Lights Camera though. I just absolutely shut off. Not interested after that.
Yeah, I did pick up their latest album, and it's good. It's kind of fun, but it's not. I can't find that. It's not what they did before, and that copy of you're just going to see my back of my head. I can't find it. It's down there somewhere. I can't figure out the alphabet this time. Well, that is my. I mean, I bought that when it came out, and it's still my original copy. So, but
I'll try and pick it up. I don't suppose it'll be expensive on CD.
I don't think it is. I think it's quite a decent price. You can get it. I'm sure you
it's
can get it for less than
It's not the cheapest because I tried to find it on CD just so I would have a copy, which is when I figured out that Suicidal Mania was on it. So I have to. I think I might have even ripped the album, put it on my music player, and skip that song and not put it on, just because it just doesn't sit right with me.
I like the title track immense.
I'm gonna find it.
What we on now? T.
Found it.
Oh, there we go.
And it probably wasn't worth the wait, but it's got some good songs on it.
Okay.
Hey.
Anyway, T. TT Quick and Metal of Honor.
Oof.
So, oh, Jesus. Yeah, TT Quick, Medal of Honor, released in 1986. Just one of those, I would say, hidden gems or forgotten gems that nobody ever mentions. If you know Accept, it's basically Mark Tornillo, who now sings with Accept. It was his original band in the 80s. I don't know if you've got a photo on the back. Oh, my. But yeah, that was his original band, and it's honestly one of those albums that never gets spoken about. And it's just a classic heavy metal album. And I don't know why. It's maybe along the same kind of lines as Forbidden, that it's just a band that never took off and they never really got picked up or promoted or toured enough. Who knows? But every time I listen to it, I just think it's absolutely awesome. They basically, I think they started out in New Jersey as like a club band, and then they finally got signed and then released. I think they had an EP. They had, and then 3 albums. So this is their debut, and then they had another 2 albums after that. But yeah, there's not really much else I can say about it. But if it just doesn't get mentioned enough, and you'd be doing yourself a favour if you picked it up on vinyl or CD or whatever.
I've never. I know that it's the guy from Accept, but only from watching like people in the VC. I'd never ever heard of them, but I would imagine the 15-year-old me would have run a mile from somebody called TT, to be quite honest. And the 47-year-old me still wants to put his running shoes on, to be quite honest. I hate the name. But I like that guy in Accept. I think the last few Accept albums are all right. And I do like it, so I'll give it a try. So is it sort of like Accept, or is it more hard rock, or what?
No, it's quite like Accept. I mean, I think he kind of got brought in because he sounds quite like Udo.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in that album, I'd say he's less Udo and he's more, I don't know, maybe it's just his younger voice, or maybe his voice matured, or he sounds a lot more, I would say he kind of sounds a bit strained now.
Right.
But that's a great album. It's on YouTube. Give it a listen on YouTube.
Mm.
I'd never heard of them until, I'm not even sure if it might have been you, Scott, who showed that in one of your updates. I saw that album cover. I'm sure it was you showing it, and I thought it was a TNT album. TT Quick, I had never heard of them. I know the guy you're talking about in Accept, and he has got a great voice. But I'm the same as Mike. You know, what year did that come out?
86.
Yeah. So that just wasn't on my radar. But I'm certainly going to check it out because I do like his stuff. And if you're saying it sounds a bit, it's got that Accept thing going on. I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, so I don't know them either, but you have piqued my interest when you talk about the Accept link. Now, a bit like Mark, I was either thinking, whenever I see the name, I think of either TNT or Triumph. For some reason, I don't know, but yeah, I've just always assumed it was more sort of hard rock, maybe early 80s hard rock, late 70s hard rock. So you have piqued my interest by saying it's. I didn't even know the guy from Accept was in it, to be honest with you. So there we go. You have exposed my ignorance on this band, and
all of us.
They are on the list.
That was a real hit, that one.
That's good though, because if I'd have flicked through that in a record shop, I would have flicked straight past because I thought I don't like it. But now, if I saw it, I would be a little bit. I'd be a lot more intrigued about it.
Same here, exactly the same. Yeah.
definitely give it a listen. It'll be worth it.
Cool.
Right.
Anyway, we'll move on from that one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anybody will know this either. STU. It's not a V, it is a U. They're just trying to be a bit stupid. And it's Vltimas from 2019. So that's, for me,
That's new.
that is new. And
What are you playing at?
we've got, what we've got here is, you can see the height figure, you can't because I'm looking at it. So you've got this the guy called Blasphemer from Mayhem. He's the guitar player. David Vincent from Morbid Angel on vocals, and Flo Monia or whatever from Cryptopsy on drums. And you were on about Act 3 being a really easy thrash album to listen to, and you would recommend it. This is a really easy death metal album that you can understand every single word he says, and I would rank this up there with the first Morbid Angel album. It's just immense. They've got what they do is to make it different. The guy from Mayhem, which is a black metal band that I never got on with them because the vocals sound like somebody's putting a fucking pillar over Dave Mustaine and he's trying to struggle to stay alive. That's what Mayhem's vocals sound like. So I never got on with them. But the guy has got the black metal sort of tremolo picking rather than death metal guitars all the time. He mixes in with a bit of black metal guitar work. The drumming is just outstanding. There's no blast beats or anything. Doesn't go that fast. And David Vincent puts in the vocal performance of his life, and it is an easy listen, no problem at all, for a new death metal fan. And best death metal album I've heard for years, and it only come out last year. Vltimas, Something Wicked, This Way Comes. Something Wicked Marches In. There you go. Everyone fucked off. Oh.
I want that. You've sold it to me. Do you like the cover?
No, not particularly.
It's Mark's then.
It's a bit busy and it's quite boring colours, but the goodness is contained therein.
That is, to be honest, I know we've talked about that on before, you and me, Mike, so it's been on my radar. But after hearing what you've just said, I need it, as simple as that. I've not heard it. I've not even listened to any of their stuff online. That is going to change by this time tomorrow.
Yeah, you need that.
I'm well aware of Cryptopsy, so I know that drummer is on shit hot. Dave Vincent can do no wrong in my eyes, and I'm very interested to hear what the old guitarist from Mayhem sounds like. But yeah, it sounds awesome. I need to check that out ASAP.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you've actually got my interest in it as well. For somebody who's kind of just starting out with death metal, that sounds like something that'd be up my street. So give it a shot.
Yeah. Very, very easy listen.
Yeah, I'm not interested at all, to be honest.
Yeah, Andy's just like sitting there writing an email while you're talking.
No,
I think this all stems from like Mike saying everything he did about power metal and Nwabum, and Andy just does this on purpose now. It's like a retaliation. Nah, not interested.
I was typing away. the name David Vincent just rang a bell around some 80s sci-fi show. I was trying to remember who it was. Yeah, it's just not my cup of tea, really, to be fair. I can't really add too much more of that.
That's it. That's the beauty of having us four on here, isn't it? Okay, right. We're on UV. We're on V, Mark V with a V. I feel like just showing this album and not really talking about it because I feel like it doesn't need me to talk about it.
Correct.
This Violence, Eternal Nightmare. I spoke earlier about Rob Flynn being a guitarist, original guitarist in Forbidden Evil, as we're called. This is his band, along with Phil Demmel, who went on to be in Machine Head as well. Now, this album, I think if you listen to this album now, and the sort of different range of styles that you've got within thrash metal and vocal styles, certainly, it probably wouldn't sound as different as this did back in the day. This is an 88 release as well. This, especially between me and my friends, it really divided opinion because of Sean Killian's vocals. It was not your typical thrash metal vocals. It was he sung a ton of lyrics over the top of the music. He sort of sang in key with the guitar riffs in certain places. But as a thrash album goes, there's nothing. This is a 10 out of 10 album. There's nothing I don't like about this album. From the logo to the cover, to the name of the album, to the song titles, Phobia, Calling in the Coroner. What a tune that is. Again, I mentioned it with Forbidden. If you call yourself a fan of thrash metal and you don't, I won't say don't own it because it costs a fucking fortune this nowadays, but if you don't know this album, you need to. It's just from first track to the last track, just some of the greatest thrash riffs you'll ever hear. Rob Flynn, it was just so good on this, and it's even their second album, Oppressing the Masses, is a good thrash album, but it was like everything was geared for this album. It's absolutely fabulous. Another band, a Bay Area thrash band that should have been a lot bigger. And I think if they kind of came along nowadays with the audience that thrash metal has, they would have been massive. Violence, Eternal Nightmare.
And I have never heard it.
No way.
I've never heard it.
I just want to address something here. So what we've got a question here around
right, yeah. So that old it is Vltimas, but it's classed as like, because if you look at that, if I remember rightly, Ultimate, it had the V and also the V for the A, wasn't it? So it isn't a V, it is a U.
But it was Metal Mickey with a U with this V.
Oh,
yeah, great album art. My copy, and I was delighted when I grabbed this. I probably paid a little bit more because the album cover itself, and I've actually got it backed up with a bit of cardboard in here because it's like toilet paper. It's the vinyl is lovely, plays really well, but the cover it needs preserving, shall we say? But to grab a copy of this, and I didn't know this back in the day. It's only really something I've picked up in the last 5 or 6 years, but amazing album. I've got this as on my favorites in YouTube as well, so I can just whenever I'm on it and when I hear it, I just listen to it online.
Yeah,
fantastic stuff.
Does anybody know the story behind this remaster why it's got this fake, like, weathered cover. It's shit.
That's terrible.
I just want the cover you lot have got rather than this fake sort of weathered bollocks.
Yeah, why did he do that?
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe they found. I think maybe they found a really poor condition of one and it amused them, and they went, you know what? Let's scan that in and use that as the cover and be, you know.
And actually, Andy said on his vinyl there, the cover is really paper thin, so maybe that's how.
No. This is it's not the cover's paper thin. It's worn.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like what's it they call well loved condition.
That shows how good the album is, because maybe all of them are like that because people just used to play
Yeah.
them, play them.
Yeah, I mean the stock of the cover is fine. It's just for me to afford that, and the fact that the vinyl was like so great, I had to get one that the cover was, you know, it's well handled. You can tell it's all the edge wear all the way around. But
I think it's a 10 out of 10. But I couldn't confidently sort of say to somebody, "Oh, you'll definitely like it," because of the vocals. Because there's such a strange vocal for people. People, you know, he sort of walks the line between absolutely fucking awful and absolutely fucking awesome all the way through it. And so I could never say, I think it's a 10 out of 10, but you just have to suck it and say, I could never say like, oh, you'll definitely like it, because, you know. But I've got to say, they dropped off after this, like, massively.
Yeah.
you know what?
The Grey Man said it perfectly there. They dropped, that was it. Yeah. They shot their wad with that album and nothing else they did was a patch on it. You're dead right.
I don't know how I've never heard this album. Because I've seen the cover. I know the cover well. I know the band. I don't know how I've never listened to that.
I think you'd like it, Scott. Honestly, just from the other stuff that we're talking about. Like Forbidden. Absolutely.
I can't actually explain why I've never actually listened to it.
Yeah. What they've done with that cover that you've got, Mike, is when you see people releasing modern records these days, and they put that edge, that ring wear on it.
Yeah.
I think, like, why? That's like when people don't look after their albums, they look like shit. So they're actually, I mean, I think Darcy showed recently the Def Leppard collection, and it was this box set, and it was like the cover had like ringwear on it. It's just like, why would you do that? Why would you sell something?
Motley Crue did that with their reissues as well.
Yeah,
a wee bit of ringwear at the top, and it's like kind of like worn all the way through the cover.
Don't do that. Don't make it look like shit.
I don't know why.
Chance to look like shit.
We want it to look new. You're paying for it. You want it to look fucking spot on, don't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Nick?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not a thrash.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. David Vincent was in the Invaders, and
that's right. Yeah.
Frank Black, who was in the Pixies, did a song about that. So I'll show my indie roots there as well.
Is that going to feature in one of your indie specials?
Look up the song by Frank Black, "Bad Wicked World." There we go. But we'll move on to the metal. Well,
W.
Well, I say move on to the metal, but I was in two minds about showing this one, but because Mike showed TerrorVision last video, I figure I can get away with this one because it's not metal.
Oh God, I know what it's going to be. Nothing.
Oh no!
Go on, let's have a guess then.
It's going to be a wedding present, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
I realize that is one of my favorite bands, but I'm not going to take it that far. This is still rock. I am going for Wolfmother, which isn't metal, and I kind of got into this when I was not so much listening to metal. but it almost has that stoner psych rock edge to it. And I love this album. It's absolutely superb. And I love everything that Wolfmother have done. I got introduced to this by the song Joker and the Thief, because I was actually listening to a lot of White Stripes at the time, and I thought that was a White Stripes song when it came out. And I found out it wasn't, and I listened to the rest of the album, and songs like Apple Tree, Woman, Mind's Eye. So I haven't got a lot to say about these. It's basically just one guy who, again, changes his band a lot. They got 3 or 4 albums out. I've got most of them. But it's something a little bit different to take away from the when I want to listen to something a little bit different. Not metal at all. Not stoner, but it still has that kind of stoner side edge to it.
Yeah, I remember when...
One at a time.
I remember when Wolfmother kind of came out, and I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh, you need to check out Wolfmother," but I mean, I've not listened to them for years and years, but I think when I first got recommended them, I checked them out, and they didn't really do much for me. That's all I can really say, because they were quite prolific, like tourers. Like, they did a lot of did a lot of festivals and stuff like that, and I think I had the chance to see them a couple of times, but didn't. So, I mean, there's not much else I can really add. I maybe listened to 1 or 2 of their albums, and obviously never blew me away. So,
I've not heard them at all. I like the album cover. I like the look of the album cover, but I've never heard the band at all. Yeah, reminds me of that Mastodon Leviathan album cover from where I'm sitting, but no, I don't know that. Are they Australian?
Yeah.
So it's maybe the one guy. I can't remember his name right now, but it's always been a band that I've been taken by. And even before I got into my sort of stoner kick, and I think they're kind of that crossover band that will take you between more sort of alternative rock, let's say definitely not metal, but alternative rock, hard rock, stoner, psych. It's kind of a little bit in the middle there, and it's certainly one that I really enjoy.
Yeah, they would. They've got some good riffs in there. I seem to remember is a singer called Andrew something?
Yeah,
sure. Ridgely.
Andrew Ridgely, no.
Yeah, definitely not him. But he had the old Sideshow Bob haircut, a massive haircut, I seem to remember. And wore like sheepskin jackets and the drain pipe flares and all that. Very, very sort of 70s looking.
Yeah.
But I remember them from back in the day. I do own that album. I do own that first one. Yeah, there we go. I do remember them being... there were some good riffs in there. And I remember seeing some footage of them from the different festivals they were playing. And they seemed like a lively band, you know, for a 3-piece. I think they were a 3-piece at the time. But they looked quite interesting. But definitely a stoner vibe going on. I completely agree with you there. But more leaning towards sort of, like I say, indie rock.
Yeah, Rob disapproves.
Rob. Yeah, no female singer.
Yeah. Get back in Facebook jail, Rob.
Yeah, we miss you.
So
X. Right, so I've had to cheat again.
Oh,
cheat. XTC.
This is a guy called so they're my second name. So this is a guy called Racer, and his second name is X.
Nicely done.
Right, okay. So I store this with X. So we've got Racer X. And obviously, we're getting to the stage where, well, saying that, I've not got any X. And then I actually found a band by mistake a couple of days ago that actually sounded awesome. And then I couldn't pick up any of their stuff, or I would have, because that was really good. But I've had to settle with Racer X. So basically it says with Paul Gilbert, but it's Paul Gilbert's band. Along the same lines as Yngwie Malmsteen, Chastain, that kind of guitar, virtuoso, wankery, noodly kind of stuff. But I really enjoy it. It's good, heavy metal, hard rock at times as well. I mean, it really kind of kicks off. The first song, Frenzy, is basically Paul Gilbert going, and then it ends, and you're like, right, thank fuck for that. Getting like the songs with like vocals and stuff. That's kind of his show off point. And then it's got a song called YRO, which actually stands for Yngwie Ripoff. So he's obviously getting his ideas from Yngwie Malmsteen, which I think has actually got the same bass line right through it as Black Star. But it's definitely worth checking out. I'm sure it's got Scott Travis on. Oh no, it's not. I'm sure it's had Scott Travis on drums, but it doesn't. Anyway, yeah, Racer X, just some good guitar, noodly, and that's an awesome cover. And that's actually by a guy called his name's Guy Aitchison, who's actually a famous tattoo artist, and he did a lot of like 80s covers, and he also did Chastain's what's that called? Something of the Underworld. Can't remember. But they kind of came out around about the same time, and he designed both covers. So yeah, that's Street Lethal. So kind of Yngwie virtuoso guitar stuff.
So Racer X, I don't have anything by, but they had Scott Travis was in there, wasn't he? That's in Judas Priest.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I thought he was on that album.
Was he not on that album?
But he's not on this one.
Is he on
I think he was in the band at some point.
Because that's how Halford, I think, because he was also in Halford's band as well, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And then he got into Judas Priest and
yeah.
But, yeah, I don't. The closest I've got to Racer X is this record by Frenzy that do a Racer X cover, loud and clear. But yeah, I don't own anything by them. I would certainly pick it up looking for it because I know who they are. I like what they do, but I just don't own any of their stuff.
Yeah.
Totally out of my. I've never heard of them or heard them or anything. So, but I don't really go in for the shred-tastic. I don't go in for that type of album, to be quite honest. I'm a bit of a. I don't really need anybody to excel on an instrument. I just enjoy the band as a whole, so I don't really gravitate towards any virtuosos, to be honest. So it probably wouldn't be for me that.
I picked up not long ago actually. Well, I say not long ago, probably about a year ago. I picked up that album, Street Ready and Second Heat. Both OG presses on Shrapnel record CDs. I think got them off a guy on Marketplace for about £3 each. So I was made up with that. I'd seen them. I always loved that cover. I thought it was a proper good cover. But Paul Gilbert, is it the same guy who went on to be Mr. Mister? Is that right? Not Mr. Mister, Mr. Big. I'm hoping if Rob's watching, Rob will tell us.
Somebody comment.
But I'm sure, because on that he is very much like a Yngwie Malmsteen kind of. Yeah, there we go. Paul Gilbert and Mr. Big. I'm sure he was, and they were like a complete different style of band to Racer X. Is it Jeff Martin the singer? I always quite liked his voice on that.
Yeah,
on that album. Yeah, but yeah, quite new to me. since joining the VCMC, that was the first time I'd heard of them. I knew of Paul Gilbert, but I'd never heard him before. But yeah, I like him. I'm quite happy to have those in my collection. A bit like Yngwie, not ones that I listen to all the time, but I always enjoy them. You know, they're always quite uplifting albums to listen to when you've got a virtuoso playing on them.
Right,
So,
moving on to Y and T. Before I discovered the vinyl community, and I was sort of just at home ratcheting around YouTube and trying to discover old bands that I had missed, this was one of the ones that I was really sort of working on before finding the VC. And I tried all their albums, and I could see that there was something lacking in a lot of them, that lacked that killer sort of sound for me. But this was the one that got closest to it. So I decided that I only needed one album by them, and this was the one. Black Tiger, I suppose I would pick up as well if that was cheap enough, but they're not easy to get really on CD. And I picked this up and then went to see them a few years ago, and they were absolutely fantastic. And that singer, that Dave Meniketti, he's a hell of a player. But I don't think there's any song on here that I don't like. They never got anywhere really. They didn't sell many albums. Another Bay Area band, believe it or not. But of course, 1983, they were going to get overlooked when Kill 'Em All and stuff like that come out. So, well, I really enjoy that album. Y&T's Main Streak. The song Main Streak is just awesome, but there's lots of good ones. Midnight in Tokyo and what's that other one? Lonely Side of Town and stuff. I really enjoyed that album.
Yeah, I'm a big Y&T fan. I think I'm only missing one album on vinyl to complete the 80s stuff. I've not really heard. I don't think I've ever heard the 70s stuff actually. But I'm a big fan of Black Tiger, Mean Streak, Down with the Count. The album that does get kind of, I think is, I don't want to say overrated, but is 10. That was kind of like their big album in 91 or 90, and that's the one that always gets talked about, but I think it's overrated. I think the early 80s is where Y&T really outdo themselves. So that's a good pick, and that is a awesome cover with the snake on it.
I don't own anything by them. I've never really properly heard them. I know the story that they were one of the first bands doing the Bay Area scene, and from what I'd heard when they started off, they were a lot heavier. And as time had gone on, I think they realised they weren't going to make a lot of money playing the heavier stuff, so they kind of mellowed out. I'm sure that's the story behind them, anyway. But I'd like to check them out, to be honest. I haven't, and it's another one of those bands just because there's that much stuff out there to check out. I've definitely seen Scott showing some of the albums on his videos. It's definitely a band on my radar, but a very different band from the Bay Area, you know, from what you associate the Bay Area sound to be. They were doing something a bit different, weren't they? But yeah, I'll certainly check them out.
Yes, from my point of view, they're a best of band. I've got a best of CD, and that's all I need from them. And I only listen to probably 2/3 of it. They got from their early stuff to probably mid 80s is about all I'm interested in. And a bit like I mean at the start of this video when I talked about Children of Bodom and I got into them and Krokus because I was going to see them live, so I picked up some CD to listen to them. Y&T were supposed to be supporting Saxon a couple of years ago, but then they pulled out at the last minute, and FM ended up supporting Saxon. But I enjoy the best of CD, I enjoy their kind of big hits, but I've never been that interested in picking up anything else by them, to be honest. And that does me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Brill. So, Mark G with a Z. And we're going out with a bang, boys. Because I've been looking forward to showing this one. And this is a band from Chicago, Illinois. One of the founding members, Barry Stern, went on to play in Trouble, the doom metal band. The guitarist from this band went on to play in MOD and Ministry and Mindfunk, of all bands.
Zoetrope.
Zoetrope.
And this is Zoetrope. They class themselves as street metal. But if you've never heard them, this band, the sort of nearest band I would describe them to is probably Nuclear Assault. They've got fast and furious riffs. The singer sounds very much like John Connolly, like a deeper version of John Connolly. But yeah, just brilliant. The story behind this is Louis here, the original guitarist, quit the band while they were recording this album. This is their second release. And they recruited Louis Svitek on guitar. So his face appears on the album, but actually the original guitarist had recorded all the guitar parts before he left. And the main man here, he decided he wanted to keep all the guitar parts because they were good. And then when they went on tour to tour this album, Billy Milano poached him from the band for his band, MOD. So what his input into this band is I think just this picture by the sounds of it. But yeah, it's a good album. What I like about this vinyl as well is the cover. I'll see if I can do this on there if you can see it, but without breaking it. This bit slides out.
Nice.
And you can turn it over, and it has all the pictures of the band members on there. You've got to be careful with it, though, putting it in. But I'm not sure if I can do that without wrecking it. But yeah, Music for Nations, the good old. Let me see if I can get it in so you can see what the alternate cover looks like as well. Yeah, there we go. But it's yeah, if you don't know it, I think they've got about 3 albums out. This was their second one. It's just good, what I would call furious sort of thrash metal. I know they class themselves as street metal, but I'm not quite sure what that means really. But yeah, check them out. Zoetrope and A Life of Crime. And this band came to my attention because I saw Jason Newsted from Metallica when they were touring the Justice album. He had a T-shirt on with that logo on it. So I was intrigued to see what it was. But yeah, Zoetrope.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a band high on my want list, but I don't have anything by them. I've never come across that in the wild, so a bit jealous. So if you ever fall out of love with a cover, Mark, then you just you'll have a good home here.
I like you not?
No, I've heard of them, but I didn't like the name, so I just avoided them.
You know how that's called Zoe?
You're really starting to fucking limit yourself here, Mike.
Yeah. No, I heard of them back in the day. I didn't know Louis Fittek was in them though. I didn't know anything about them. I just seen the name and thought, what sort of name is that? And then just moved on. And back then there was plenty to move on to, wasn't there? So, and I've never seen it or anything like that. So, but when you said that they sound like nuclear assault, then I will go and try them on YouTube. But another one that I suspect will be hideously expensive, which is a bit of a pisser.
I don't know Did you say they've got 3 albums, Mark?
Yeah, 3 albums. The first one's called Amnesty.
Yeah,
which
I've heard that one.
They have done a reissue on Century Media. And then they released a few years later. They released a 3rd album, Mind Over Splatter, which is it's very different to the first 2, that's for sure. But yeah, they're a good band. I like them. They've got attitude. They've got that nuclear assault thing going on, like I say.
And they've been reissued. The CDs have been reissued of them.
I know. I'm not sure about that last one. I'm sure the first 2 have been reissued by Century Media with the quite poor sort of grainy artwork covers that they're renowned for doing.
Yeah, I might pick up myself a couple of substandard reissues then.
Yeah, I've heard Amnesty, and I've heard what's the second one? Life of Crime. What was one you showed? Life of Crime.
Yeah,
I actually preferred the debut. I think the debute's a bit better. I think I just kind of not that the second one's bad. I think I just clicked more with the debut. I think it was like just clicked with me a bit better. I think it had stronger riffs in it. But yeah, those are 2 albums that I would like to get on vinyl, but I don't have any of their stuff yet. So, but I don't think the albums, the LPs shouldn't be too expensive.
No, I mean I picked that up about 6 months ago for, I think it was about 12 quid or something.
Yeah.
And showing that cover as well, I suppose the trick is to find one that these sort of bars in between the people, the pictures, finding one where they're not broken out. That's the trick, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, get one in good nick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, good band. I thought it was quite a nice ending for Zed. It was better than ZZ Top anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've done it, fellas. We've reached the end of series 1. Who knows if there'll be a series 2? It was good fun, but I think we're going to we got some ideas, and we're going to move on from this going forward, and have a little bit of different content on this channel. So it's been a pleasure.
We need to we need to definitely. I've loved every minute of this, boys. I don't know about you, but it's been good fun.
Yeah, it has.
And yeah, we have got a few little ideas. So it might be the final part of A to Z, but it's not the final part of Contact in Blood.
And it's always something we can return to in the future if we feel like.
Cool. So, so thank you to everybody that's persevered through this. They're always a bit of a slog, I guess. Well, they don't feel a slog doing it. I mean, that 3 hours and 20 odd minutes has flown by as far as I'm concerned. But we're at the end now of this one, and we'll be back again soon, I think, with something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to everybody who's watched and all your comments. It's very much appreciated. Like I say, it's been good fun. Even if Mike was yawning a little bit there, I thought we were going to lose him at one point.
Yeah. I'm feeling it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
See you later.
yeah.
Take care.
Bye.